Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing? I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asomugha. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better. And kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor. Because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
The Major League Baseball Players Association's executive director, Tony Clark, was forced to resign from his position after an investigation revealed impermissible benefits, nepotism, including an affair with his sister-in-law, as well as more corruption from the now former head of baseball's union. As debates were already expected to be contentious over the new collective bargaining agreement to replace the outdated system that will expire on December 1st of this year, the question is, are the players better off without Clark as lucrative labor talks start heating up? Or will this almost assuredly help in bringing about the first baseball strike since 1994? ESPN's Brian Windhorst says LeBron James is likely to head back to the Cleveland Cavaliers next year to finish out his storied career if he is willing to take a big pay cut. Windhorst believes that there's a 99% chance LeBron will team up with Spider Mitchell and the boys to make one last run for the King back in his hometown. Will LeBron make the decision to take his talents back to Cleveland? Or are we being held witness to the final chapter of the NBA's all-time point leader. And before we call our shots and say alrighty then to Woody Johnson and the Jets, we will take a ride on the concrete jungle carousel and let you know what's the scoop with all the teams in the tri-state area on another all gas, no brakes, wheeling and dealing, styling and profiling live Thursday night edition of 𝐃𝐨𝐽 and the Mouth.
Significant. They're going to have a ton of money to spend. Why not put it in one of the top 3 offensive players in the league? We're going to be looking at Aaron Judge and saying that he can't win the big game. Michael Jordan said, I played 82 games. You don't see LeBron doing that.
This is a game where you got to go perform.
I told you, Giant fans, that Saquon Barkley at this moment. I'm gonna fight them all. A 7-nation army couldn't hold me back. They're gonna rip it off. Taking time. Say whatever you want about Patrick Mahomes. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. Really? And I'm talking to myself at night because I can't forget. Back and forth through my mind behind a cigarette. And the name's coming from my eyes and never
Let's do it. You're listening to 𝐃𝐽𝐽 and the Mouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to 𝐃𝐽𝐽 and the Mouth. My name is Earl Mark. My co-host tonight, the one and only Speedy Petey. 𝐃𝐽𝐽 Chamberlain right now is working with his son, getting ready for the baseball season. Actually, it's in the middle of the baseball season. Hopefully, in the very near future, we'll have 𝐃𝐽𝐽 joining us. You just heard him, our executive producer, Mr. Aaron Fishman. On the board, Tommy Poops. Ladies and gentlemen, you know how it always is. And the one we call Neth in the back room, as always. Hanging out, our PR manager, working as he always does, traveling as he always does. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including 𝐃𝐽𝐽 and the Mouth every single Mondays and Thursdays at 6:45 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a crazy, crazy week. Today marks another day where I went to doctors. I am absolutely one of those guys that don't like going to doctors, seeing dentists. And today I was actually jumping from one doctor to another. Last night we had a meeting and I couldn't make the meeting because I wasn't feeling good. I was starting to spit up phlegm. And I know anybody understands when you're getting sick, you think that you have, I don't know, you have a cold, you have the flu, you have COVID. Well, last night, I don't know what was wrong with me. So I dozed off. I went to sleep. I wound up waking up at 10:45 p.m. and I was coughing up green crap. And I didn't know what it was. So I was up all hours of the night doing everything to try. I mean, how many people have told me to drink peroxide or, gargle peroxide because your throat's hurting you, or do other things, drink lemon juice or anything. I was trying everything, calling friends. My girlfriend's a nurse, so I was asking her, what should I do? Try to feel better. So I woke up this morning, I went to a doctor, and then I went to a dentist to measure a crown because I am trying to, my teeth, I have very nice teeth. I take good care of it. But over the last couple of years, I've had problems with it when it comes to cavities and making sure that none of my crowns would break. So today I was measured for another crown, and the one thing, I don't know if anybody knows this, I'm allergic to Novocaine. So I cannot have Novocaine. So I don't do sleeping gas or whatever the hell they do. So what they do usually, I went to a new dentist today because I have a new insurance company. So she was like amazed that I wouldn't take anything. She was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, do you have any straps? Because they usually strap me to a chair. My old dentist strapped me to a chair because I do it naturally. So they didn't have any straps. She thought I was crazy. Like I was in like an insane asylum. And I said, just drill it. And she's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, drill the cavity out or whatever the hell you're doing. So we can measure for a crown. So she was doing it. And she's like, you okay? You okay? But I don't know if anybody knows this. If you've never used Novocaine or you've never used any of that stuff, eventually your gums go numb because it's so painful. Your whole body starts to, you start to sweat, all this stuff because of pain. So my body is so used to it. And she's like just absolutely amazed. She kept stopping. She's like, you okay? You okay? I was like, yeah, just get the thing out of my mouth. So she drilled it and she measured it. And at the end of my my time over there with the dentist, she was like, I've never seen that before. I've never been in a patient. The last time I've seen this was my parents when I was in like the 1970s, because they didn't really have all the stuff that they have now. She's like, I've never seen anybody have, do cavities or even root canals. What do you do with root canals? I said, I've had 2 root canals one time. And the last root canal I had, they didn't give me any Novocaine because I'm allergic to it. I'm deathly allergic to Novocaine. Like my face blows up. I'd be rushed to a hospital. I would need an EpiPen for Novocaine. So they have all different things. They have like sleeping gas or laughing gas or whatever the hell they do. But this particular dentist didn't have it. So I was like, just do it. And she was like, I told Brittany, because Brittany, after I got back got back home and she was here collecting all my laundry, she was like, well, what did they do? I said, they were drilling out my mouth and shaping up for the crown. She's like, did they give you anything? I was like, I'm allergic to Novocaine. So she's like, what did they do? I said, they just drilled it out of my mouth. So my mouth went numb and my mouth is starting to just come back. And I'm starting to feel that I'm in pain. So I just want to let everybody know I'm here doing the show, but I am deathly in pain right now, dealing with all the different vibrations on one side of the mouth and the other. So, Speedy, have you ever gone into a dentist and ever have that done to you? I mean, obviously,
not without Novocaine. Not without Novocaine. I had my wisdom teeth pulled when I was in college.
Actually, my wisdom teeth came up, so I didn't have to worry about that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So all 4 of them actually popped out when I was like 18, 19 years old.
Yeah, I think it was after my freshman year in college, I had it pulled with the Novocaine. I remember I was like 3 days. I felt very like twisted in my mouth a lot of the time. And then I attempted to, on that Friday, I somehow was able to broadcast a soccer game that my college network was broadcasting. And I toughed through it, but I definitely was still feeling some of the effects of it.
She was like absolutely amazed. Even the nurse that was there, or the medical assistant that was holding my hand, she was like, I have never seen that before. I've never seen somebody not take Novocaine, not take anything, and deal with the pain that you're probably dealing with. And I'm like, after you get used to it, I realized that I was allergic to Novocaine when I was like 22 years old.
Wow.
So, and I remember I was rushed to the hospital because my mom, all of a sudden my face like blew up, like literally my lip blew up massively. So I was rushed to the hospital and they told me that I'm allergic to Novocaine, and thank God you were rushed to the hospital. Yeah. You could be deathly allergic to it. So so they gave me, now I always carry around, I don't know if anybody does this, I carry around an EpiPen, because if anything happens, I touch Novocaine, I can definitely be allergic to it. So that's the only thing that I know that I'm allergic to, that and certain grass. Because I went to the allergy doctor and they tested me for all those different things. But Novocaine is like the one thing that I'm deathly allergic to. My friend Mike, he's allergic to strawberries. If he touches a strawberry, he could die from it.
My uncle's the same way. He's allergic to like 4 different fruits: strawberries, blueberries, I think it's peaches, and pineapple.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I didn't believe it until my face blew up. So I'm always worried. I always tell her, make sure there's no Novocaine around me. I don't want to be rushed to the hospital. But that's why in my car, I actually carry an EpiPen. So, because I don't know, I mean, who carries around Novocaine? I mean, what are the chances you bumping into Novocaine? But anything's possible. So I'm always careful when I go to a dentist. Anyways, at 8:30, we will be talking to former 12-year Pro Bowl running back Ahman Green. He's going to be joining us. He's never been on a show. I remember Green when he was playing for the Green Bay Packers, those Brett Favre teams, and he was their go-to man, one of the more unique running backs of the 90s. He was fun to watch. Looking forward to getting him on. Say thank you to the NIF, because NIF reached out to Mr. Green, and Green has obliged us. He is going to be joining us a little bit later in the show. But this story has been beating on the surface. I mean, absolutely beating on the surface. Tony Clark resigns as the head of the MLB Players Association. ESPN's Jeff Passan reports that the head of the MLB Players Association, Tony Clark, has stepped down from his position after an investigation uncovering an inappropriate sexual relationship with his sister-in-law, who was a union employee working with Clark in the Arizona offices. Clark's wife's sister, Frances Clark, yes, was the only employee outside of Clark that had access to the specially made league office Clark had built for himself. The inappropriate relationship was uncovered in an ongoing federal investigation by the Eastern District of New York, which apparently started in 2023, the same year the sister-in-law was hired by the union. The Athletic reports that Deputy Executive Director Bruce Meyer, who has been with the MLB since 2022, was unanimously voted as the interim executive director of the MLBPA. The MLBPA voting subcommittee included veteran pitcher Chris Bassett, Bassett. I'm sorry, Bassett, and the best pitcher in the game, Tarik Skubal. Skubal has said he believes that the MLBPA is stronger than ever and believes that Meyer can do just as well, if not better, than Clark in contract negotiations. The biggest issues in the CBA seem to revolve around the deferred Dodgers adding Kyle Tucker this offseason, leading to calls for salary cap from owners. The current CBA expires December 1st, and the MLBPA says they want to do everything they can to not have any games canceled in 2027 and the season. I will say this. I don't know much about this story besides what has been posted all over social media. It's been a laughingstock, an absolute laughingstock. And it's something that really, but first of all, that beard that Tony Clark has, it's got to go. It's absolutely got to go. It's ugly. Ugly as sin. He looks like Santa Claus, lost his best friend. I don't know. He actually looks like an elf, like Santa's elf. Nevertheless, you think about this story, and there's a lot of scandals of power, a lot of these big name owners. How many times have we seen stories from billionaire guys get caught with cheating on their wives or cheating on their best friend's sister's girlfriend? I mean, everything. We've heard so many stories over the years where people use their power to get what they want. Tony Clark has been the voice of the players for many, many years. And you think about the story and the backlash that this is going to collect, not only from the league as it's, as a whole, but when you try to compare all the leagues, the NBA, the NHL, and the NFL, and all the scandals that have happened over the years, this is a scandal that you would be shocked about, because think about it. Tony Clark ran the MLBPA. He built the Arizona office. He hired his wife's sister, right? Am I right?
Yep.
It's his wife's sister, just to sleep with her. I mean, think about it. Why did he hire her? I mean, she's making $100,000 a year. That's good money. I mean, what is she doing? Probably nothing. What do you need to do at the MLBPA? I mean, besides negotiate contracts. What is she making phone calls and answering them? She's making $100K. So automatically that would be fishy. But the fact here is, you look at the MLB and the strike, which could happen at the end of this year. There's no negotiations, and they wanted to start negotiations September 1st. That's what I've heard. And now you bring in Meyer. Now, I know 𝐼𝐸𝐾𝐿 came out and he says that it might be in a better position than it ever was with Tony Clark. And that's great. Tarek comes out. He speaks for the players. That's great to hear. But there are more things going on in the MLB that meets the eye. Think about it. With everything that's happened, the betting scandal, the Ohtani scandals we have seen, and it's happened strategically over the last 3 seasons. And now you talk about the deferred Dodgers, which everybody is talking about and speaking about, and the fact that the Dodgers have won back-to-back championships. They've won 3 out of the last 6. They've dominated baseball. Why? Because they figured out a way to manipulate the salaries and the salary cap with deferred money. Now, deferred money's been around forever. But now the league and owners need to look at this as a problem for baseball, because nobody wants to see one team dominate every single year because they're buying players and getting the players to agree, hey, you know what? We're going to bring you on with a signing bonus of $60 million, but we're not going to pay you for 12 years, or we're going to pay you minimum amount of money because we're all about winning championships. And Tony Clark was set up in a position where he was going to be the face of this negotiations. One of the more important times for baseball to hit it out of the park. Think about it. Literally hit it out of the park, because baseball has been growing. The WBC is around the corner. This could take baseball to another level. All the stars want to play in the WBC right now. Think about it. Aaron Judge has never played for Team USA. Never. Not in his time here in the major leagues. You think about all the players that have agreed to play in the WBC because they want to play for their stars and stripes. They want to play for their Puerto Rican flag. They want to play for, the Mexican flag. Their colors. And it's not like that anymore, because baseball, with all the money these players are being divided out to, there is no salary cap. This is the only sport out of the 4 major sports that doesn't really have a salary cap. And I believe it's been a problem forever. Me and 𝐬𝐝 off air have argued this over and over and over again. Finally, 𝐬𝐝 has agreed with me that something needs to be done with the Dodgers. Now, he never said that the baseball is going to need or should push for a salary cap. But even if they negotiate something with the deferred money, there has to be some kind of cap to the salary. And then you talk about Clark and this scandal and how it affects the negotiations. Well, it affects it enormously. Because if you look at Meyer has not been in these conversations. It's been all Tony Clark. Now you're bringing another front guy, an interim guy. He might not be the guy in the future, but he's there now, where he has the player's ear, and unanimously he has every single player of the MLBPA behind him. And you wonder if he's put in this position to fail. Because baseball, especially the owners, are in the driver's seat. They know that they smell blood, and they know that the situation that the MLB players are going to be in the offseason is either you negotiate a deal that's fair to the owners and fair to the league as a whole, or we're going to go strike. And the players are going to be pushing for it. Why? Because, hey, you know what? If we're in the driver's seat and we're pushing for this, the owners are going to try to push this forward. When the owners are multi-billionaires, do you think the owners give a crap if they sit out 50, 60 games this season, next season, where they're going to get what they want, where there is some kind of cap, where the players aren't going to be making $70, $80 million a year? 100%. And Tony Clark was the middleman. He was the guy that was going to be the driver in this, on this bus. And now the bus is completely crashed with his sister-in-law. Literally crashed with his sister-in-law. I know everybody makes jokes and there's memes out there that it's going to be really awkward Thanksgiving and Christmas. Great. I could give a crap about the Clark family and how they get along with one another inside and out of their house, who's sleeping with whose wife. I mean, this is a soap opera. The fact here is, how does this affect the MLB and negotiations when December 1st comes around? And it's going to come around quick. It always does. Baseball is going to go quick. We're going to have a new champion at the probably before December. And then we're going to be wondering, where does baseball go? Do they go into 2027 like, what was it, 95, 96 when they went on strike, where they missed practically every part of the season? Or do they come to a negotiation where it makes sense for the owners and it makes sense for the players? And you know the players are not going to agree to a salary cap. They're just not. Absolutely not. So how does this work when you have a new guy in office and he doesn't know where these negotiating conversations have gone over the last, 62 weeks, 7 months? Because he wasn't in that room. He wasn't in those conversations. He knows about them. The players now have voted him in to put him in that position to figure out how he can negotiate these deals. But negotiations, when it comes to multi-billion-dollar deals, are not going to be easy to make. And again, going back to the Dodgers have really spun the wheel their way. And everybody's going to say, like Jabba has said over the last couple of months, he says, well, every team can do what the Dodgers did. Not necessarily. When you bring in players like Friedman or Betts or Ohtani, they got to believe that at the time when they're sitting with negotiations, they got to believe that this team is built good enough to run away with the championship. Now, in the beginning, the Dodgers had to negotiate deals with Mookie Betts and Friedman. They gave them a thought, or they set up a platter, and they had to believe that they were going to finish that food. That food was edible enough to finish the season, to finish everything off, to win championships. Now you think about it, and you look at the Tucker deal. It works for Tucker. It doesn't work for the league. Tucker signed, what was it, a 4 or 5 year deal?
4 years, $240 million.
Which you can opt out after the second year.
Yep.
So he's getting money up front. So he's happy. And no matter what, if it doesn't work out with the Dodgers, he's in the driver's seat 2 years from now where he can opt out and make even more money. So to me, the players are, and that's why the owners are really forcing their hand on this. They're going to force their hand on it because they have no control right now. It's the players that have all the control because of all the money they're going to be bringing in when these contracts come to fruition. Think about it. If you're a superstar or even a partial superstar in the league, let's say you're the 5th best player on that roster. Now you're making, those 5th players on that roster are making no less than 30 or 32 million a year. And the best players are making 40 or 50 million a year. And it's not sustainable anymore. And owners are looking at that. So now you have guys like Tony Clark, who's been out there. He's been in front. He's been on the front line speaking for the players and trying to figure out how this is going to work in negotiations at the end of 2026, going into the 2027 season. And you wonder, after this scandal, are the owners in the driver's seat? Because now the players are sitting there. We had a leader. We had a guy that just created a huge problem, which has been now it's going to go into the season as the biggest story going into the baseball season. You're looking forward for pitchers and catchers and obviously going into the new season and going into spring training. You don't want to hear that the strength of the players union is starting to tip the owner's way. And it is. It's starting to tip the owner's way. And the commissioner works for the owners. He doesn't work for the players. So the commissioner and Rob Manfred, or Manfred, as Jabba calls him, you sit here and you wonder, how is this going to work with a new representative and the players trusting this new representative who has no understanding of where the negotiations were going? I mean, obviously, he's got all the paperwork. He's got all the players that were in those conversations with Tony Clark to give him information. But he's going to be the guy that's going to be standing there and speaking for the players in front of all these owners and in front of the commissioner of baseball, wondering, how do we protect the players and how do we make sure there's no strike going into 2027?
The two things I think Clark really emphasized when he was the head of the MLBPA was the fact that they weren't going to have a salary cap, and the pitchers that were injured, and like I guess some of the select position players too that had long-term injuries with Tommy John surgery and stuff like that. That money was not going to come out of the GM's pockets, which I think helped them get insurance policies. You talked about that with Garrett Cole last year when he got hurt, that they would still make that money anyway, and it wouldn't have to be an unpaid thing. And it was a good negotiation at the time for compromising in that sense. Now, you bring in somebody new in Bruce Meyer that does not have a lot of experience, is even a deputy executive, kind of was a figurehead for a lot of Clark's things. Maybe that's why guys like Bassett and 𝐷𝐿 believe that they have still a strong union, which I do believe they do. It's just a very difficult extreme as well when you're judging owners that are, I think, the most extreme in either direction too. It's very rare in baseball, I think, compared to these other sports where you see owners that are on this like good middle ground of wanting to pay players reasonably and go from one extreme like the Dodgers and go to the other extreme like the Pirates that are cheap asses that don't know how to control their players and don't pay anyone. It's rare that you see an Atlanta Braves, like Houston Astros type organization that's kind of somewhere in between. And that's where I think you're also looking at the divide to be still a lockout, I think, even regardless of who the Players Association was. Do I still trust guys like 𝐷𝐿 to be forceful? Yeah, because look at how he was in his own contract negotiations with the Tigers. They were a big example of that. He won his arbitration case, thankfully, but the Tigers were lowballing him the whole way. There will be samples of that to an extent. Will it be enough to prevent a lockout, though, in this extreme direction? I still don't know. I think it was even going to happen regardless. And I just really don't know if you could trust Bruce Meyer at this point to save any chances of that when, yes, there are some owners that still are going to try to be cheap anyway. But there's a lot of owners that are annoyed at what the Dodgers are doing now. And that's why I think they're still inevitably, I think regardless, going to go on strike as it was.
There's no doubt baseball is going on strike. There's no doubt about it. This is just a story that's going to push it for that to happen.
Yes.
But Tony Clark and the story, and again, we don't know the full story. It just came out. Everybody's making jokes. It is funny. It's laughable because obviously you have a voice, the guy that has been the voice for the players for what, 10 years now, 8 years now. He's been running the show and figure out negotiations. Remember, what was it, a couple of years ago when we were talking about the minor leagues and what the players are making? And Tony Clark was the guy that negotiated them a little bit more money. He was the guy that stood there and spoke about how important paying these AAA guys was not enough, and how are they going to take care of their families and move forward playing professional baseball? How are they going to last in the minor leagues to be the next superstar in the major leagues? So Tony Clark was the face of that negotiation. Now you would have expected Tony Clark was going to be the guy that's going to change baseball, give baseball an opportunity in this particular predicament that they've put themselves in. And again, the reason why I say the players put themselves in this situation is because they don't want to agree to any salary cap. They don't want to agree to any of it. And then you think about the Dodgers and what the Dodgers have done. And a lot of the players that we've had on the show, not all of them, but most of them have come out and said that they agree. If the Dodgers want to do that, it's legal. Why shouldn't they be able to do that? But here's the problem. Since the Dodgers started to do that, and everybody says, well, everybody can mimic it. That's not true. They cannot copycat what the Dodgers did. Everybody's got to agree to it. Every single player that they're negotiating a deal with has to agree to terms on how this is going to work. I mean, do you think Mookie Betts was sitting there? Now, Mookie Betts got a lot of his money. And Friedman, there was some deferred money with Betts and Friedman. But, I mean, half of these guys that we've seen over the last couple of years have come to an agreement because they want other players to come and join them to win more and more championships. But here's the problem with baseball. If you're expecting these teams to win championships, and everybody's going to say, go back to the Yankees in the 90s. The Yankees did not do that. I'll go back to it, and I am going to stand up, not because I'm a Yankee fan and I'm wearing a Yankee hat. That's not true. That's not why I'm sticking up for the Yankees. If anybody knows me on the show, I am fair about who I think the Yankees are, and even all my teams. I'm not going to sit there and stick up for all my teams and be a homer. I'm not Aaron Fishman. I'm just not. But here's the facts.
Easy.
It's true. I'm not Aaron Fishman. You're wearing a
Not
Yankee hat.
everybody can. Not everybody can.
Right. Nobody wants to be. But here's
easy.
I'm speaking the truth here. I want to go into why I think the Yankees cannot be compared to what the Dodgers are today. One, the New York Yankees built around a core. They built around players they drafted over the years. You talk about how you define an organization. You got to define it in the minors. The Yankees brought in, I'll say it again, Derek Jeter. They drafted Bernie Williams. They drafted Andy Pettitte. They drafted Mariano Rivera. They drafted Jorge Posada. They built around a core of 5 players. They call it the core 4, but they were really 5 players. And what they did is they developed those players and then brought veterans around them. Were successful in their professional spots in the past, or weren't as successful with their teams, like Scott Brocious, who was a good player, but not a great player until he went to the Yankees. And they brought them to a team that had good camaraderie, and that changed everything. Scott Brocious became a subpar player at best to a playoff MVP. Okay? You talk about guys like Charlie Hayes, a journeyman. Wade Boggs, Hall of Famer. But at the tail end of his career, he played for Tampa. He played for, obviously, the Red Sox, played for the Yankees. His career was pretty much after he turned 32, 33 years old. His career was pretty much jump from one team to another and try to figure out how to win a championship, which he never won with Boston. So you think about all the players. That's just some. Roger Clemens, David Wells. I could go on. Jimmy Key. I could go on and on and on with some of the players they brought to this organization. What the Yankees did was completely different. And everybody says they bought their players. They only bought their players in 2009. Me and Job, I've had that conversation again. Think about it. A.J. Burnett. Remember him? Mark Teixeira. Remember him? CC Sabathia. Remember him? They spent $500 million in an offseason because they wanted to win a championship. Actually, Hal and Hank wanted to win a championship for their father, who passed away in 2010, 2011. They wanted to make sure that their father had an opportunity to experience another championship before he parted ways with the earth. And they did that. But when they made a move for Alex Rodriguez was thrown to the Yankees. They failed. The Red Sox failed to seal the deal, and the Yankees jump in and stole him from them. And over the years, they brought 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞. They brought players in that didn't succeed. But what the Dodgers have done is completely different. And you're going to say, how? How is it different? Simple. It's very simple. The Dodgers have one guy they drafted on their complete roster and in their lineup. Do you know who that is, Speedy?
Paez, I believe.
No, it's their catcher.
Oh, Smith?
Smith is their guy. He's the guy. He was the face of that offense over the last couple of years. They drafted Smith. They put Smith centerfold as their guy that I guess they built around from their organization. And then who did they bring in? They brought in stars. They brought in good players. Hernandez, Edmonds. They brought in all these guys. Friedman, Betts, Ohtani. That's what they did. They bought their way into a championship. Look at their pitching staff. Are any of those guys that were developed by the Dodgers? No, they were not. So when you look at the Dodgers and you compare the Dodgers to the Yankees, they're uncomparable. They're uncomparable because what the Yankees did in the 90s, nobody thought was ever going to be matched. Why? Because baseball is so different now with the rule changes. And even with 162 games, a lot of these managers aren't pitching them every 5th day. They're pitching them every 6th or 7th day because they want to save their arms for the playoffs. It's different. It's completely different because of analytics. WAR, as we know. We're trying to figure out how analytics bring baseball to the forefront of professional sports, which it has been over the years. I got to give baseball a little bit of credit because they designed ways of adding new statistics and data that make you sick to your stomach. It really does. I am not a statistician. I'm not a data analysis guy, but I sit here and you're telling me what all these different analytics or different things that have been brought to the forefront that help baseball recognize you as a defensive player, a base stealer, or a power hitter. It makes you sick to your stomach. And then you have guys like Tony Clark, who sits in the back end making all the money. And he's the guy that sits there and listens to the players' woes, that sits there and gives the players some information of what the owners are saying about them, and then goes there and pretty much sleeps with your wife or sleeps with your girlfriend or sleeps with your aunt or, sleeps with whoever. I mean, it's pathetic. And now baseball, and I'll say this, the players union, it's to me, it's set up in a way where I don't know if Myers was the right guy, unanimously being picked, maybe as a puppet to the players. Yeah. Maybe that's what it is. Unanimously, he was picked because, hey, you know what? We're going to tell you what to say, Meyer, and you're going to do what we tell you to do, and you're going to make millions and millions of dollars. If it doesn't work out, well, we'll find some other idiot to do that too. So I think it's a big problem, and I don't know how this is going to work for the players when these owners, these multi-billionaires are sitting there with their lawyers and telling you, go F yourself. We're in the driver's seat now. Tell Tony Clark to go sleep with your wives. Go tell him to sleep with your aunts or uncles. To me, it's really, really bad for baseball. This is not a story like betting on baseball or steroids, as everybody blew it out of proportion, but this is bad. Really bad.
Yeah. Again, you also mentioned the discrepancy of contracts too in baseball that I think is also a bigger extreme. I'm not saying obviously the Dodgers are one extreme into the other, but take a team like the Giants. Obviously, they're paying Rafael Devers a ton of money, but their next biggest contract is not great. And like you said, how much is the fourth or fifth highest paid player on the team making? It might be like $15 million a year or $20 million a year, if anything, and then even the lower market teams. So they might have that one big contract, and they just have a big drop off after that too. And that's been a problem for a while. That was even before we're talking about this with the deferred money with the lockout. I think that was even happening before that, where remember how long it took somebody like 𝐼𝐸𝐾𝐿 to sign before he signed with the Padres, and it took him until the end of that spring training. The Yankees did that with 𝐬𝐻𝐫𝐞, I believe, when they signed him too. Like, they took forever. It really took to the end of that because they just weren't sure, because he was not a power guy. He was a batting champion, obviously. He was a great defensive player when the Yankees brought him in, and then they settled on a 7-year, $81 million deal, which at the time seemed like a bargain. Maybe it didn't age well, but he still was a pretty good Yankee for the most part until maybe the last couple of years. And that's the problem I think MLB has, because they want to pay those stars, especially the younger stars. They want to pay them all very quickly. And that's why you're seeing obviously a Braves model that I think other teams are now starting to replicate, but took a while for them to replicate. I think, Fish, you brought it up with the A's recently. Yeah. They did it with Brent Rooker. They did it with 𝐿angoliers. They've done it with Jacob Wilson, I think was what you were talking about. And now you want to see teams replicate that to an extent with younger teams if they're going to be continuing to have a payroll discrepancy. But now with the potential lockout looming, like, do you want all that money going against you when you don't even know how these players develop if they take a year off from baseball? So there's a lot of factors in with a lot of different young teams and just a lot of teams all in different places.
Yeah, no fool over there in I guess not Oakland anymore. I guess Sacramento for the time being. They've jumped on that. Soderstrom, Lawrence Butler, other guys they've locked up. It's a smart model. The Braves did. It didn't work out for them because everyone got hurt this past year and they had some down years, but they've been really competitive because of that model without a top payroll. But this is the worry, right, Errol? Now Tony Clark's gone. Meyer's in there. He's only been with baseball for 3 years, right? Since 2022, 23, whatever it was, as the deputy guy. I mean, he's been around it, but how well is he going to represent the fact that the players have certain wants as well in this negotiation? It's not just this deferred money with the salary cap. It's also, like the revenue sharing. How is that going to work going forwards with the streaming dollars? That's one of the main issues. How the players are going to get compensated for that. How that's going to replace the money from the regional networks like Yes Network and SNY are still doing well. But throughout the country, these places have failed. Like, I think it's just like TV, like the Turner stations have still done it. Obviously, they're bigger than a regional station. But there's very few like baseball things that have survived. So the model is being changed, and there's a lot of fights about how that money is going to go and who's got the players' interests. It's not a good look for the players, and they're probably better off holding out than even trying to make a deal right now. Mm-hmm. If this is what it is, because I'm really concerned. And then Clark on top of it, man, like it reminded me immediately of the Bobby Petrino story years ago when he's like trying to get away on the motorcycle. He gets in an accident with his mistress, and then they try to cover it up. Like, he didn't have a mistress who he was pretending was his assistant. You know what I mean? Getting paid on the school dime. That's exactly what he did here. Except it's even worse. It's so much worse because they have these labor talks coming up, and now he's screwing the entire league of players on top of screwing his wife's sister. And then think about it. You're not just breaking up your marriage, you're breaking up like family. You're wrecking your first cousins, your second cousins, your aunts and the aunts and uncles in there. Like everything that you're like connected to is screwed up. And that is just, I mean, that's all time scumbag behavior. And he's got to go. And they did it. They put Meyer in because I think they're really desperate. They don't know what to do.
He stepped down. It's not like they fired him. He stepped down right away. When this story came out, he ran. He made sure that he gave his papers in, and he wants to disappear off the face of the earth because he not only is his family brought to the forefront and his wife. I feel bad for his wife because she's in the middle of this. She has nothing to do with it, and she's in the middle of it. Think about this. His wife and her sister, okay? Think about that. How disrespectful can you get when it comes to being a man? And you're going to go out there and you're all about, when you get married, you're there to death do you part, and then you're sleeping with my sister. How long has this been going on? So think about it. And maybe this was the whole point of why you think about baseball as a whole, all the different allegations that we've seen over the last couple of years, how baseball's brushed everything under the rug. I was thinking, hey, this story came out. If this story never came out, does baseball brush this under the rug? Because the Ohtani stuff, I mean, Tony Clark is not 𝐬𝐿 Ohtani. 𝐬𝐿 Ohtani is the national phenom. He's a superstar all over the world. So baseball made sure they protected their young superstar and made sure that they can continue making billions and billions of dollars. This guy, the baseball don't give a crap about. So what did baseball do? Baseball and the owners were excited about this. Why? Because now they don't have to deal with Tony Clark anymore. They don't have to deal with his craziness and him stepping up there and telling the owners to go kiss their asses. No, now the owners are sitting there and saying, okay, we're in the driver's seat. We don't have to deal with Tony anymore. And now we have to deal with some rookie who knows nothing about the position he's in. And you have a bunch of billionaires saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. You don't like it? Well, tough. This is the deal we're giving you. If not, you guys can go to strike. We're still going to be in the driver's seat, and you guys are going to be asking for scraps because we're not going to give it to you the way you have asked over the years, because the union has always been in the driver's seat. The players' union has always been that way. And we know what happened in 95, 96. Because of what happened in 95, 96 is the same thing what we've seen over the years. But here's the bad thing. We have seen organizations completely fall apart. As we know what happened to the Expos. The Montreal Expos could not afford to miss that season that year, and they did. And with being that they lost all that money, they had to sell the team, and eventually Jeffrey Lurie moved them to where? To Washington. And Montreal, and I believe if 95, 96, it never went to strike, baseball never went to strike, the Montreal Expos would still be here. They'd still be a part of the major leagues. And probably
they were the best team in the league, 𝐼𝐿, that year. They were the best team in the league.
Probably would have won the World Series too. That was my take there. With all the talent that they had, Pedro Martinez and Vladimir Guerrero and all those talented players that they have, Galarraga, I think, was on that team. They had guys that are Hall of Famers. They might have had
Larry Walker.
7 or 8 Hall of Famers that were part of that organization, and they were traded away, moved away. I remember John Wetland. He was the Yankees closer when they won their first championship in 96. So the Yankees were absolutely in the driver's seat when they got players of that Expo team. So I'm just saying, when you look at where baseball's at now, I don't think any teams are in those predicaments anymore because there's so much money to be made with the new TV deals and all the different ways they can make money off of hats and jerseys and merch. There's no way that any of these teams are in a bad position where if they miss the season, or owners, they miss the season, they're going to lose out. They're not, because they own other businesses and they have other opportunities to make money. It's the players that are going to lose out on this after what Tony Clark did. This is bad. This is bad for the players, not the owners, not for baseball. And I know everybody's going to say, well, the owners want baseball to keep on going on. And I do believe that. I think the owners are behind what they want baseball to do in 2026 and 27. That's as far as 27 season is to have a season. Here's the problem. If they miss the season and they lose money, they have ways that they can use that through insurance policies. There are so many ways that these owners are still not going to lose as much by not having a season. The fans are going to lose out. The players are going to lose out. Remember, each player that missed a season, they miss out another year of money and another year of compensation that they're going to lose. And you're talking about players like 𝐿 Cole that's going to miss out on $38 million. How about Juan Soto? $68 million he's going to miss out on. You think Juan Soto wants to miss out on $68 million? Not a chance in hell. Because if I'm not mistaken, if you go on strike, you don't get those contracts. You don't get that money. I don't know if that's true.
So there's labor lockout. The contracts are null and void until they come back.
That's right. So think about this. Juan Soto misses out on $68 million. They don't want that. Players do not want that. So they thought by having Tony Clark negotiate this deal before September 1st, that would put them in a driver's seat to have a season in 2027. There is no way they're going to start the season without going on a strike, because they got to pull first of all, you're going into a season and a lot of these players want to concentrate on the season. The union doesn't want these players to worry about next season. They want to worry about this season and how they fight to continue making their money and get these teams into the playoffs and win a championship. So they're not even going to be speaking about it until September 1st or September, in sometime in September when the playoffs are going on and the season's practically over. So unfortunately, you're wondering as a baseball fan, and I know there's a lot of baseball fans, including Speedy, which is his favorite sport, Josh Silverberg, which is his favorite sport, out of all the sports, that don't want to see another or one season of their God-given lives miss when it comes to baseball and getting a chance, quote unquote, the Mets winning a World Series. But the Mets and the Dodgers are the reason why this strike might go to fruition, because of all the money that they've been spending and obviously the deferred money that the Dodgers completely have taken advantage of.
Yeah, the Mets aren't smart enough to use deferred money, unfortunately.
Well, they are. They did with the contract with Bo Bichette.
Yeah, finally, after all these big contracts before that, Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, yaks.
Yeah,
that's the thing, though, right? Like, that's why the owners want a salary cap, because most of the owners in the league don't want to do the deferred dollars, because what the deferred dollars are is just what stock guys do, hedge funds guys do on Wall Street all the time. They're just creating future debt against the value of the franchise, which isn't worth close to the value. So it's just like, it doesn't matter. It's like they're trading stocks. And the future debt, it doesn't apply. They don't have to pay into the revenue sharing the same if it's deferred to a later contract. So it's like a loophole that they're exploiting. And until other teams do the same thing as the Dodgers and leverage their future with debt, they're going to keep winning. Or you do a salary cap and just nip it in the bud, or you just say no more deferred contracts exceeding this amount of money, and all the deferred money has to count against both today's salary cap and then a penalty when you're paying it out like Bobby Bonilla style.
Speaking of deferred, LeBron James is back in the tabloids, ladies and gentlemen. ESPN's Brian Windhorst reports that LeBron James has a 99% chance to return to Cleveland if he is willing to take a pay cut next season. LeBron has a player option on his current deal worth about $52.6 million and a full no trade clause. Reports say that he's unlikely to sign his player option unless he can work a sign and trade with the Lakers to wherever he wants to go. Wonder. Windhorst says that the only way the Cavaliers would be interested in bringing him back is if he plays for a veterans minimum or a deal that would still keep the Cavaliers under the mid-level tax exception, which next year is projected to be just over $14 million. The Cavaliers still believe that LeBron James can be a highly productive player in small spurts, but knows that he is not the same two-way player for the regular season. Windhorst says that Donovan Mitchell is fully on board with bringing LeBron James, saying it would be a dream to play with somebody he grew up watching. LeBron is averaging 22 points per game, 7.1 assists per game, 5.8 rebounds per game, with a 50.2% field goal percentage in 36 games for the Lakers this season. Uh-oh. Are you hearing this, ladies and gentlemen? Are the Cavaliers trying to buy their way into another championship? Here's the thing. I like LeBron James. Everybody thinks that I hate the guy. I write all these stories to take shots at this man. I think he's the second greatest basketball player to ever play in the NBA. If you want to make him the third, if you think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is there, or Magic Johnson, or Larry Bird, whoever, Will Chamberlain, whoever, Bill Russell, you want to put him there at second? Nobody's better than Michael Jordan. I don't care what LeBron James says today or what he says after he retires 20 years from now. He's not better than Michael Jordan. But the Cavaliers, with the roster they have in play and in place, they can absolutely win with LeBron James. With Mobley and Mitchell and the talent that James Harden. Now, I don't know how that works, but if there's anybody that can play with James Harden and get James Harden playing at a top level, it's LeBron James. And how about this? Trading James Harden for Kyrie Irving. Would you think that's a little outlandish? I don't know. Kyrie Irving going back to the same team that drafted him? That makes sense. Now, I do believe Dallas is going to be looking to trade Kyrie Irving if he comes back 100% healthy. I do believe that. And why not bring the two guys that were there when they won a championship and knocked off the Golden State Warriors? LeBron James is a unique individual. He is not as defensively savvy as he's been over the years. This guy could have won Defensive Player of the Year at the top of his game probably 5 times. Never did, because at the time you had Draymond Green, you had all these guys, Gobert. There is a lot of great defensive players in the league, and as good as LeBron is, LeBron was the best player in the world. They're not going to. Michael Jordan, I think, is the last player I could remember that won Defensive Player of the Year, the MVP, and won a championship in the same year. I think he's the only player that's ever done that. But LeBron James is a guy that you can win with, a guy going back home to Cleveland, a guy that's been back in Cleveland not once but twice, and now this would be a third time. And to go and try to win a championship with Cleveland. And here's the thing. LeBron going over there to Cleveland automatically makes them the favorite to come out of the East, even with the Knicks as good as they are in position, unless they get Giannis. If the Knicks get Giannis, I would say the Knicks are probably highly favorites of coming out of the East. But if the Knicks don't land Giannis or that doesn't happen, I would say Cleveland is the favorite with the talent that they have over there. I don't know how it's going to work with the coaching staff, but unless LeBron James, we've seen this before. We've seen this before with the Cleveland Cavaliers coach over there. And, I love him because I root for him. He's a Long Island native. But if LeBron James wants JJ Redick there or whoever he wants.
Oh, you're going to Tyronn Lue back.
Tyronn Lue was, because he's probably getting fired at the end of the season. Thank you, Clippers. But this story that LeBron James wants to go home and 99% chance that he could go home, I don't think this is much of a story because it's very expected. If LeBron James wants to play another year, it won't be with the Lakers. I said that a couple of months ago. There's no way LeBron James goes back to the Lakers the way they're built. It's Luka's team now. It's not his. And he knows it. And how do you know it? Because during the offseason, when Luka Doncic got that extension, he was the only one of his teammates, Luka's teammates, that didn't show up to the press conference. Everybody else did, which tells you that LeBron James don't give a crap. But LeBron James loves Cleveland. Did you see his final game in Cleveland this year? Him going back home, and they have all the videos and all the success that he had over there. The king coming from, the place that he grew up in. It's a great story. I'm not taking shots at LeBron James's success. I mean, if you look at his numbers, 22, 7, and 5, it's nothing to sneeze about. I mean, this guy's he's 40-something years old, and he's putting up these kind of numbers. It's pretty amazing. But here's the thing. As good as LeBron James has been in his career and what he stood for the league and everything of that magnitude, how many things has LeBron James done throughout his last 10 years that make you shake your head? The Bronny James story is a story that's going to be held in many people's opinions, probably for the next 20 years. This is not the fact that LeBron wants to play with his son, Bryce, and maybe Bryce gets drafted by Cleveland. I don't see it, especially if LeBron goes there and Donovan Mitchell and all of them are there, because Bryce is expected to be a lottery pick, not this year, but maybe next year. So I don't know how that works unless somehow Cleveland negotiates a deal or LeBron James spins his magic wand and gets Bryce to play with him over there and gets Bronny to be traded over there from the Lakers, which I don't think anybody wants Bronny. So that might be a shoo-in for LeBron James to make that move. But the league is run by LeBron James. He's run the league. So to think that he has a no trade clause and him taking less money wouldn't be beneficial for his brand, it absolutely would. Think about it. LeBron James doesn't get the $52.6 million. He takes a pay cut. Let's say he takes $15 million next year, right? $15 million. They get a chance to win a championship, and he wins his 5th championship, which ties Kobe Bryant. You know how much money that brings to his forefront in the future with all his endorsements and all the sponsors that he has? You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. So if you look at it in LeBron James's way, the guy's 42 years old, going to be 42. He's a multi-billionaire. He's the richest athlete in professional sports right now. What does he own? He owns his own production company. He owns everything. His own podcast, which is probably one of the top 5 podcasts for basketball in the country. I mean, everything the guy touches turns to gold. So do you think, unless he's that greedy, and I don't think LeBron James is as greedy as people think he is when it comes to money, because he's going to make money hand over fist no matter what. He's got his own insurance company. So he doesn't need $52.6 million. But if his greed is going to be there, then he would take it. If it was Dwayne Wade or Chris Bosh, I don't see Chris Bosh or Dwayne Wade taking a pay cut to go and play for his hometown. LeBron James, 100%. 100%. If LeBron James has an opportunity to go over there and get to play with his hometown, I know he's not a big fan of the owner. We all know that. But he gets to go and play with Donovan Mitchell and that kind of talent, and they don't have to trade anything. It's another John Tavares move. I mean, but John Tavares never won. LeBron James goes there. He's almost a shoo-in, unless Giannis goes to the Knicks, to be the contender to come out of the East.
Yeah, and we talk about the NBA being rigged angle too. You know, the refs are going to be on their side. Oh, we want this amazing storyline.
Sports is rigged.
Yeah, we want this amazing storyline if this is LeBron's final year to go win it with this core in Cleveland once again, because that was the storylines before that. It's why the Cavs and the Warriors played 4 straight years in the finals, because those two teams just got very popular. LeBron versus Steph Curry, who's the quote-unquote face of the era, which I got overblown a bit because LeBron was always better than Steph Curry. But nevertheless, there were people that, like our friend Owen, that believed that Steph Curry was better.
It's the young fan. Yeah. They loved the fact that this guy who came into the league, by the way, grew 2 inches after the fact he came to the NBA. Remember, when he came into the NBA, he was like 6 foot, he was almost at 6'1". He grew like 2.5 inches over the last couple of years, and now he's 6'3". So he wasn't the guy that's going to do these tomahawk dunks. He wasn't a Jalen Brunson that can get up there and jam the ball. As a matter of fact, I think Steph Curry in his career has jammed the ball no more than 8 or 10 times.
Yeah, it's funny because I was editing you had the Chris Paul short on Monday with Dial It Up, and I was editing the video for that. There was like one pop-up video that said every time Chris Paul tried to dunk, and Chris Paul was probably about the same size as Steph Curry. So think about that. But yeah, it's one of those things where with the Cavs right now, I think Kobe Altman, the GM, is trying to not turn it into the LeBron has to control everything type scenario. Now, obviously, it's going to be for 1 year if they do take this kind of thing on. And financially,
is it?
Maybe. I mean, I guess maybe there's a chance for a second.
How about this? If he's willing to take less money and you want to spread out the contract and you want to make sure that he gets $52.6 million, you extend him. You give him 1 year with a player's option, and he gets what, 22 million? Or 20 million next year, or 19 million next year. And in his final year on his farewell tour, he makes 23 million. He's not making 56 or 52 million, but he's making what, $15 million less? And he gets a farewell tour and he gets all the options. And by the way, gets a chance to win another title, which would tie Kobe Bryant. Maybe wins 2 of them and ties Michael Jordan, where he says, oh, I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest. So think about that.
Yeah, that's where I feel like he might still have to make that kind of move anyway, because this core for the Cavs has grown pretty organically outside of, obviously, the Donovan Mitchell trade was a trade, but this core has grown pretty organically before that, but they've had issues in the playoffs. They lost against the Pacers last year when they were the #1 seed. They were the most efficient team, I believe, besides the Nuggets 2 years ago in NBA history. And they still lost in 5 games to, granted, they were kind of banged up, but they still lost in 5 games to an Indiana Pacers team that they had a lot more talent than last year. And this year, they finally got some good depth with 3-point shooting. So it's a good core that has a chance. But if they still fail in the playoffs again, regardless of, they're not the better team than the Knicks or the Pistons or anything like that, but it's still an East that we know is not as good as the West. So if they don't win the East again this year, they might feel like, okay, we need a guy that can still elevate themselves in the playoffs. And James Harden definitely is not going to be that guy. And I agree with you. I think a James Harden for Kyrie Irving swap makes a lot of sense because Kyrie Irving is not the usage rate guy that James Harden is, and Donovan Mitchell can definitely be helped by that. And obviously, fans are gonna embrace it. The fans love LeBron. Obviously, the fans love Kyrie, and if they can make the money work, which I think they can, I think Altman is a smart enough guy to make that kind of thing work. It definitely makes sense if LeBron is willing to take it. Where it's
he is going to take it because it's going to help him build his brand over there in Cleveland. Remember all the billboards they had over there when LeBron James was there? King is back all over Cleveland, and everybody knows that Cleveland's a great town. We've heard it from Goody. We've heard it from Jabba. They all said Cleveland's a wonderful place to be when it comes to sports. So the billboards the King is back. Your Majesty is back to win another title. I mean, it would be huge for his brand. So to sit here and say, oh, well, he's going to lose about $40 million. Is he really? I don't see it. And LeBron James owns restaurants over there in Cleveland. He's from Akron. I mean, it's great. Even some of the, I was saying contracts, but not contracts. All the different school activities he's built in the summertime for these children over there in Akron and in Cleveland would be beneficial for him to be there and promote it and build it even more. So those organizations, those sponsors, those investors that are helping LeBron James take it to another level, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to pay him. So he's not losing anything. He's gaining. And I'll tell you this, LeBron James is one of the more unique and intelligent business owners. The guy knows how to run a unique business. He wanted to create a production company. He loves Space Jam. He grew up on Michael Jordan. Well, he's the king. He's the best player the NBA's seen since Michael Jordan in his eyes. So what did they do? They remade the Space Jam saga. And who did they bring in? They brought in his production company to run it. Now you have NBA players like, how about this? Steph Curry, the GOAT. I mean, that new cartoon that they've put together, and Steph Curry's written it, and I don't think he's a voice in it, but he's like the director of it. I mean, now all these NBA players have their hands dipped into all these different businesses and ways that they can bring their brands to the forefront. LeBron James knows how to build a brand. He's copycatted, as everybody has, of Michael Jordan. Air Jordan is not just a name. It's not just a brand. It's a livelihood. If you don't own a pair of sneakers, if you don't own a pair of Jordans, every one of us, I guarantee you, every one of us, or at least I would say 90% of Americans own a pair of Jordans. Why? Because of who Michael Jordan was, what he stood for, dominance, and who he is as a player. It's pretty unique. It really is. There's nothing more to say and nothing to argue about that as far as the LeBron James saga and the story. The only thing I could say and finish off as far as I'm concerned with LeBron James is, if LeBron James believes that the Cleveland Cavaliers have a chance to win a championship if he goes there, why wouldn't he sign an extension to try to win number 6? Think about that. He has always said that he's the greatest basketball player of all time. That's what he says. He's argued that. He's been on the ESPYs numerous amount of times, and he's got his own friends and family and even his old teammates like Carmelo Anthony, who played with him at this tail end of his career, or even Chris Paul or Dwayne Wade or Chris Bosh, that believe cold-heartedly that LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time. Well, if that is true, why aren't you trying to break the greatest basketball player, as we believe, of all time, Michael Jordan's number of 6? That doesn't mean that he's going to be compared to Michael Jordan, because Michael Jordan won 3 championships back-to-back times and did it in a way that I don't think we'll ever see a player do it. But the fact here is, if he wants to consider it and he wants to challenge people on the argument, well, how many championships you have? You got to win 6. You got to win 6. And that's all I'm going to say about LeBron James as far as I'm concerned. And I think that that's an interesting take. And I think if I was LeBron James's agent, or I was, which by the way, I don't even think his best friend.
It's not Rich Paul anymore.
No, I don't think Rich Paul is his agent anymore.
The mighty have fallen. Or
I think they're no longer working together, as far as I'm concerned.
Allegedly, mighty have fallen. Rich Paul.
I'm not positive on that, but I was reading a story. I don't think Rich Paul and him are working together anymore, and they grew up together. As far as Rich Paul, pretty much made a name for himself. Oh, they are? Well, I'm pretty sure I read something that they're not.
Well, if they're not, it must be because of that great LeBron James. I'm never going to get anywhere in the NBA.
It's interesting. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. Rich Paul has been one of the worst negotiators in the NBA, and everybody drives to him because of who LeBron James is. He's been LeBron James's confidant, and everything LeBron James touches when it comes to business has turned to gold. I'm not lying about that. Go look at what LeBron James has done. So, anyways, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we call this the Concrete Jungle Carousel. Bing, bing, bing.
That went over like a fart in church.
Well, where's the music, ladies and gentlemen?
All right, guys, welcome to the Concrete Jungle Carousel. This is the segment where we're going to recap all of New York's related tri-state area related sports. So here we are. We're going to get into it right.
Yes, you're going to have to go in and go out. There's a little muffle sound. Tommy's probably
Do you
trying
hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. That's better.
Okay.
There you go.
Maybe I was too far over the mic. So, guys, we have the Concrete Jungle, and we're going to start off with some basketball news because it's the only sport that's really in season currently. So, starting off, Jalen Brunson talked to Vanity Fair, Errol. He wants to be paid a massive contract in 2028 and said that he made sacrifices for the Knicks to build a championship contender, beginning with his 4-year, $156 million contract, when he could have waited and gotten a 5-year, $269 million max contract. Obviously, he'll be eligible for a bigger contract than that with the inflation 2028, 4-year, $323 supermax deal. If he waits an extra year, 5 years, $418. It looks like the Knicks are going to try to do well by him because, let's face it, they did build a contender.
There's no question. And I do believe Jalen Brunson has taken less over the last 2 contracts. Remember, when he signed with the Knicks, he signed, I think it was a 2 or 3 year deal worth about 60-something million. What a steal, because Jalen Brunson became a superstar here in New York, became the face, the captain, El Capitan, as Hart says on his on their podcast. So we understand what type of player he is. He could go down as the greatest Knick of all time. But here's the thing. Does it benefit the Knicks to give him a $450 million deal for 5 years if he wants to win multiple championships? He has a chance now, if the Knicks bring it together and continue to build this with Leon Rose and Worldwide West, to win multiple championships, not one, and become, I wouldn't say a dynasty, but one of the elite teams that they have not been in over the last 50 years. So if I was Jalen Brunson, I understand he's in New York, taxes are high, but you have an opportunity to make money in many different ways with some of the sponsors. You're going to get more being here than anywhere else. Why would you take a $500 million or $450 million max contract if you know it's going to hurt the team? That's the only thing I'm going to argue. I'm not taking shots at Jalen Brunson. I love Jalen Brunson. He deserves a big contract. It doesn't hold well for the Knicks. It doesn't help the Knicks if he takes that kind of contract.
Yeah, I worry about it with the injury history too, because he's always had one injury, or maybe even 2 in some seasons per year too. Now you're going into the 2028, you're approaching 30 years old at that point. Is it going to be worth it for even giving the 4-year 323? I think if they can make it work, if he stays healthy, the 4 years 323 might be good. I wouldn't do the 5 years 423 or whatever it is. After that, I do worry about the injury history. Fish, I was telling you in the read-off, they're like smaller guards. Look at somebody like Damian Lillard, who barely has played a lot with Portland, now even this year with Milwaukee. I worry about that kind of thing.
I don't worry about the injuries. I'm worried about how it benefits them to give him that contract, to bring in free agents and being a championship contending team. And by the way, they just gave up 5 first-round draft picks for Mikal Bridges. And every other year, they're going to be getting those contracts, getting those picks. And being that the Knicks are so good, those picks are going to be bad. But as these guys get older, they're only going to get worse. And eventually they're going to fall flat on their face. And those picks could be lottery picks.
Yeah, we talked about it too. Like the Knicks are kind of in that 3-year core for a championship as it is, and that's where a lot of those picks, I think, outside of the last one, are going to be in. So if the Knicks don't win a championship in that span, yeah, then maybe you're starting to question it with the core. But if they do, and yeah, maybe there's a little more leeway to give Brunson the deal. But if they don't, yeah, then there's some questions.
Yeah, the other team in New York should be mentioned. Brooklyn Nets are in full-on tank mode right now. Porter Jr. is playing tonight, but it's not close. We mentioned Cleveland earlier. Cleveland is whooping up on the Nets as we speak in the first half. They're already up by like 20-something. They're 15-38. Right now, they're talking about drafting, unless they hit big on the lottery, somewhere between 4 and 7 in this year's draft. So I wanted to pull up ESPN's big board of draft prospects that are in the 4 to 7 range. Right now, the top 3 are Peterson, Debansa, and then Boozer at 3, according to ESPN. This is from a week ago.
Boozer's sitting there at 4. I'm jumping on him, and I'm opening my doors with wide hugs and kisses because I think he's the best player in this draft, Cam Boozer.
I'm hearing that like the top 3, it's like a top 3 and then everybody else type of a draft. So I'd be shocked if he gets out of the 3. But 4 is sitting there is Caleb Wilson from North Carolina. He's 6'10" and 19 years old.
Looks
He's
pretty damn good.
A pretty darn good ball handler and shooter for a guy who's 6'10" and still growing into his frame. People are very excited about him. Obviously, he's got the hand injury, but he's someone to watch. The Houston kid Flemings is 5. Kingston Flemings, another 19-year-old freshman. People are talking about him. He had a 42-point game against Texas Tech last month. Big-time player for a team that's a top 5 team. Then you have Wagler from Illinois, who's got big numbers, and Ament, who we've heard a lot about as well, from Tennessee. Another 6'10" wing type, one of these kind of freak athlete types sitting there. After that, you have a couple of names from Arkansas, Cuff Jr., Mikael Brown from Louisville puts up points in a hurry at 45 points against NC State. And rounding out the top 10, they have some guy from New Zealand.
I think that no matter where the Nets are sitting, and the Nets could actually jump from 4 or 5 or even 7 to 1, and they'll get a top 3 player. The Nets are going to do whatever it takes to try to get one of those top 3 players. But this is a good draft. We've heard this many, many times by many different guests that we've had on the show in the past, said that 2027 is the year to make sure you scavenge up as many draft picks you possibly can. And the Nets have done it. I think the Nets could really rebuild their team if they could get a Cam Boozer there or one of these young studs, maybe a Wilson. They get one of these guys and then build around the other 2 picks that they have later in the first round and the amount of money that they have in free agency. And honestly, Porter Jr. could be traded in the offseason to get themselves another first-round talent. So I think they're in the driver's seat. The Nets are not going to be good for another, I would say, probably 5 years. They have Sean Marks. At least they have stability over there as an executive. He's been there a long, long time. I remember when he was brought in, taking over from the Spurs, and he's still in the driver's seat. So maybe if they can get the right guy in there and they put the right players in position, they can draw a free agent like Giannis of that magnitude to come and play over there. So it's a possibility.
Yeah, it's interesting because Sean Marks, I think, when they brought him over there, they brought him there to do the rebuild. And obviously Billy King was the best that he had inherited it, and Kenny Atkinson.
He created the mess.
But yeah, Billy King.
And Sean Marks created a mess over there too.
I was going to say, if he learns from his mistake and not do that kind of thing again, when you're trading all these good young players for Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant and James Harden, who they won 2 playoff series, congratulations, with that amazing big 3, and they couldn't even sell playoff tickets there. Yeah, if he doesn't do that again and you actually let it build organically like you've seen the Rockets do now, like you said, obviously OKC, that's the model you really want to get on before that big trade with 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐷 and Jalen Williams. If they do that, yeah, they'll be in good shape. Otherwise, yeah, it'll still going to be same old Nets.
Well, they got a lot of young guys. You would assume that they're gathering them to trade for somebody big to pair with hopefully a top 3 guy into this year's draft. It would make sense on a lot of levels. But again, this is a Nets franchise that seems to get it wrong a lot. Let's go to baseball. I think it's time we talk about some offseason baseball. Let's start in the Bronx with the Yanks. Friend of the show, Brian Hoke, reports Aaron Judge called the Yankees offseason tough to watch, especially when they were very passive early on with the winter meetings. Watching, the Mets sign guys away from the Yankees, watching the Red Sox make trade after trade, the Orioles sign guys, Pete Alonso, adding pitching. Judge adds, man, we're the New York Yankees. Let's go out there and get the right people, the right pieces, and to go out there and finish this thing off. He wanted the guys back, Trent Grisham, Goldschmidt, and Bellinger, but wishes they could have done more.
I heard this story, and he's the captain, and he's really speaking for the fans, and he's a fan of the New York Yankees. He wants the Yankees to pull the trigger and land some superstars. This wasn't the off season to really bring those superstars in here. It really wasn't. If you look at the free agency market, they got Bellinger, who was one of the best free agents out there. They signed him. They gave him an extension. It's not like they struck out on him and lost him. If they added Kyle Tucker, was that enough for him to be happy about? No. I think the fact here is there wasn't enough out there where the Yankees could have pulled the trigger where it would have made Yankee fans happy or even some of the players there. I think next offseason, if the Yankees strike out on bringing another superstar in after the strike, or if there is a season, well, then I think that Aaron Judge won't be happy with the organization. He's not going to ask for himself to be traded or anything. I never heard or seen a captain ever do that, but I'm sure he will air out his opinions to it. Honestly, what he said to Brian Hoke isn't surprising. It wasn't like he was out there and saying, oh, we're not a championship team. We're not even making the playoffs with this roster. No, he didn't say that. All he said is he didn't understand that why the Yankees didn't go out there and open up their pockets, even though if you really look at it, they really did. It's not like they struck out and didn't add a superstar player, or not a superstar, a star player to a roster that a lot of teams were after. 7 teams were after Bellinger, and the Yankees got him on a good contract. So I don't know where the complaining should be, not from El Capitan or anybody else on this Yankee roster. They're still a contender. They're probably the best team in the American League, even with some of the acquisitions some of those other teams made.
It's interesting because I think the trends of the Yankees of what was available realistically for them this offseason have gone against what they've tried in the past and hasn't worked. Like, yeah, okay, a lot of people are thinking the Yankees need to go improve their bullpen too, but we've also seen off seasons with the Yankees getting these flashy relievers and them flaming out or getting hurt, stuff like that. Same kind of thing with the catching position, anything like that. They were never really in on Tucker. They were never really in on Bregman, I don't think, as much as people think. And those were probably the 2 biggest names, besides Bellinger, bringing it back to get. So if they got more in quantity, fine. But maybe it's more of a shot at Brian Cashman with all the comments he was making at the beginning.
The smartest thing to do is bring up Spencer Jones. I don't want to hear about, we're going to trade him. He's not a piece, or we're going to block him. We're going to block him. You have a young stud right now in your farm system. See what you got from him. See what he's made of coming up and being called up in the major league. What is he going to do? Hit 3 home runs in spring training, and you're going to walk out on him and say, well, we're going to move him. We don't think he's any good. Last year, he was the best player in spring training, and they sent him down to AAA. It doesn't make any sense. If you want to surprise or you want to make the Yankee fans happy, don't go out and say, pretty much tell all the Yankee fans your best left-handed prospect, your young stud power hitter who has almost identical numbers like Aaron Judge, as me and Fish were pointing out during offset of the show and trying to compare his numbers to Aaron Judge. You're gonna just move him because he doesn't fit the culture. He doesn't fit the roster that's built right now with the New York Yankees.
And that's why I think these jabs are not necessarily at the free agent moves themselves. It's the way I think Cashman's operated, and maybe it's deterred players away. Obviously, we've heard Java say that with certain free agents when he was there, that maybe Cashman just negotiated him wrong too. And maybe that's why Jones and Dominguez, that recent story too, maybe rubbing Judge the wrong way.
Well, let's go across town and talk about the Mets. There was a very weird story. If you think the Yankee story was weird, the Mets story is even stranger. Uncle Stevie Moneybucks over there, says that as long as he's owner of the New York Mets, they will never, ever have a captain. Despite speculation last year, Francisco Lindor was going to be named captain of the team. There was a lot of talk about it, and that frustrated Brandon Nimmo, who is now no longer part of the team. We've heard some weird, stuff ranging from they just didn't get along to they had political arguments that made the clubhouse awkward. Regardless, he's gone. Now Lindor, who's the longest tenured player on the team after Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, and Nimmo were gone this offseason, says he respects Cohen's decision and says a label wouldn't change the type of leader and personality is in the locker room. But Errol, it feels like a pretty direct shot at the leadership going on with this team.
It absolutely does. And Pete Alonso, I thought, was the face of the organization, the polar bear. They winded up not even offering him a contract. He goes to free agency and goes to the Baltimore Orioles. And I wouldn't be surprised if he hits 45, 50 home runs. And when he plays the Mets and he meets the Mets this year, he drives the ball down their throats. But here's the facts. None of those guys that are on that roster right now are homegrown players. None of them, as far as I'm concerned, star players that are on that roster, Lindor, Soto, they're not from the organization. So I can understand Steve Cohen coming out and saying, hey, you know what? None of those guys are going to be captains. We're not going to have captains. Because I think that obviously, as far as the organization is concerned, they're more worried about a casino being built over there and making sure that there's money being printed over there and him paying players or drawing players to come and play over here to try to win championships for the fans. To me, it's all about winning championships. Why does anybody give a crap about who the captain is? They haven't won a championship since 1986. It's how many years? 30 years ago? 40 years ago? To me, it's all about winning championships. So why does anybody care who the captain of the New York Mets is? Is it Captain America or is it some ass sitting out there paying tickets, $500 tickets to go and watch this disgraceful team choke at the end of the season?
Yeah, it's a problem when you're announcing this kind of thing. I'm not really advocating for Mets should have one captain anyway. I've always argued with that with Rangers too. Like the Rangers switching their captains every year because they keep trading all the other ones. But the overall leadership dynamic has to be there if you want this team to go anywhere. And outside of maybe Lindor and Simeon, I don't really see any guys that are definitively good leaders. I think Soto's just a flashy name, great player, but I never really was amazed by any leadership quality with him. Bichotte's the same kind of way. I don't think he really has that kind of thing. And you need that kind of thing with more of your starting lineup guys, but even your pitchers too. Like there are a lot of young guys all at once. Like who are you going to be able to trust? I just think they have a problem that they're not a well-operated team. They're just a bunch of money hungry guys right now that are hoping to win and hoping a mixed bag of all this could win a championship. You can't trust them. These comments really don't help.
It just feels like a guy who tried to make a team on a video game and didn't worry about the chemistry aspect of everything that's going to happen and the people's lives and the relationships. I think it might get ugly, but let's leave out some hope for the Mets fans. See, I'm not just such a hater, Errol. It's not everything.
Give me a break. You're trying to be nice?
I was nice. I was being nice. Don't you think?
I don't think you're being nice.
This will be the ultimate test.
It's typical Aaron Fishman, locating what nice is and what bad is. And I mean locating because he's probably in Washington, D.C. right now and trying to figure out, hey, you know what? Let's talk about New York fans here in New York. So, it's like all over. An almanac of crazy.
Another toe job.
As we all know.
All right, so I wanted to talk.
We miss you.
Don't tell your friend Danny about toast, though.
Yeah,
No.
We all know. Or we can use the old myth.
Breaking news. I'm putting you on a leash now.
We could do it that way, or we could do it this way.
Breaking news. They call me the ladies' man and Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Oh, well, hopefully he's not stealing anybody's girl or man.
I feel like Nithin needs to start, he needs to meet and start representing Rex Ryan. I feel like Nithin and Rex would have plenty of interesting conversations that nobody should hear that they would enjoy with each other. But that's a whole nother story. Let's talk about those Jets, Errol.
You want
those Jets, Jets. Fox Sports reports the Jets are very interested in Bears D-back Nahshon Wright. Favorites to sign him with the huge amount of cap space they have. He was for the Bears. If you remember last year, he's the guy whose coach in college was murdered during the season. It was in Oakland. We talked about that story. He was very emotional the game after. I think he had an interception that game. He had a very good season for the Bears. Good player. He's one of the top corners on the market. Another corner on the market expected to hit free agencies, Tyreek Woolen with Super Bowl championship. Seahawks, he was the guy, if they were going to pick on someone, he was the guy they picked on. He made a couple of blunders, famously. Didn't cost them against the Rams ultimately, but it could have. He's the next guy that people would take at corner, but obviously the Jets and the Giants we'll talk about too, also very interested in corner. And then speaking of those Giants, there's a guy on the Giants the Jets are apparently homing in on, and it's our 5'1" slot receiver. I'm sorry, 5'8" slot receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson, who I think in the combine had the shortest arms ever recorded for a receiver at the combine. He had a lot of drops, but this year he was a 1,000-yard receiver, had better fantasy stats than Justin Jefferson. After Neighbors went down, he was the only guy that looked like an NFL receiver on that team.
As far as the Jets are concerned, any corner right now would be an absolute home run for them. So they're going to look at Woolen. I'd stay away from Woolen because I don't know if you want to bring somebody like that in your locker room unless you can control him. So I wouldn't go. I like the kid from the Bears. I think that's something that the Jets are going to look at. And the Jets have a lot of money. The Giants don't. They're going to be looking at corners, but they can't even afford their own players. As Robinson is going to be available, that's the number one guy I'd be targeting if I was the New York Giants, of bringing him back, because you don't even know if your Neighbors is going to be back and he's going to be 100%. This guy Robinson this year was a phenomenal player. You could put him in the slot. You could put him on the outside. He was really Jackson Dart's number one target all season long, and to lose him in free agency is a catastrophe. I don't care what any Giant fan says. You could go after a wide receiver at number 5, but are they better than Robinson? I was very impressed with Robinson all season long. I did not think he was this good because over the last 3 years, he couldn't stay healthy. But when he had a chance to spark and be a lightning rod for Gable, and then obviously what they did in the second half and what the kind of numbers he put up, he was a Pro Bowl player. He to me, he'd be the best slot wide receiver in the league. So my question here is with the Jets is, are they going to put themselves in the right position to land these guys and not overpay for them? If they overpay for these guys, they're going to put themselves in salary cap hell for next year if they decide to move on from Aaron Glenn. You do not want to bring a coach in that's going to try to maneuver cap space in the next 2 or 3 years to get him, on point for the players that he wants to run his offense. So if you don't think Aaron Glenn's the guy, as we've heard many people say, then don't overpay for players this offseason. Wait until the next season where you're loaded with draft stock and you're loaded with money where you can put the right guy in position to get the players that he wants.
Yes, I was going to mention that with 𝐿'Shon Wright because I think it is a big disclaimer that both the Giants and the Jets have made this mistake in the last 10 years. The Giants did it with James Bradberry. He had 2 really good years in a row at the end of his career with Carolina, but those were his only really 2 good years. The Jets bid on the same thing with Tremaine Johnson, and both those contracts really backfired for those teams. 𝐿'Shon Wright kind of feels like that same kind of thing. He's been a product of a good secondary for a while. He played well when those guys were hurt throughout this year. Is it a flash in the pan, though? And can you trust that kind of thing for that much money that he's going to demand because he was one of the interception leaders in the league? I don't know. Robinson's another interesting one. He improved very, very good as a route runner and a deep threat this past year.
Don't pay over $15 million for Robinson, and I would land him.
I was going to say, 𝐿'Shon Wright was that same kind of thing. Buffalo gave him a 3-year, $45 million contract. I wouldn't exceed that if I were any team going after Robinson, because Robinson height-wise much more deficiencies than Shakir does.
Yeah, I personally would rather have Shakir in that deal. But just before we leave the Jets, Vera Tucker, obviously lots of injury history. He's probably someone that they'll try to bring back on a low cost deal.
$9 million a year. I think $9 million.
I think it's going to be less than half of that. It might not be very much, just to see if he can still play. It's like that with the injuries with him. Breece Hall, though, looks like him and Kenneth Walker III, who we'll talk about in the Sports Minute in a little bit, are going to be the top 2 running backs on the market. He wants around $13 million plus Breece Hall. If they tagged him, it would be around 14.5.
They're going to tag him. They're 100%.
That's what they're looking at right there with Hall.
They're going to they're going to tag Breece Hall. There's no question they are. The Jets aren't just going to let him go and get nothing for him. They were expecting a 3rd-round draft pick for him. They didn't get it from Kansas City. Who knows? If Kansas City gets Breece Hall, I believe they make the playoffs and maybe make a run. They struck out on that because they didn't want to give up a 3rd-round pick, which is very surprising. I think Breece Hall is the type of guy that Kansas City's going to go after. I could see that happening. Kansas City will overpay for him because they need that star running back over there with Patrick Mahomes. And we'll see. Maybe Tyreek Hill will follow after that, and they'll be a contender. But Breece Hall's going to get franchised, and the Jets are going to get something back for him. They want a third, they'll probably get a third for him. So we'll see.
I think that's the approach that the Jets are going to have to take. Like, why would they let him go walk for nothing and not try to accumulate that draft stock too? There's going to be
they don't have any third-round picks this year.
Yeah, right.
So,
and giving them even more of an incentive when you look at all the 4 teams remaining had good running games in the playoffs, and even the teams in the divisional round. So it's a different theme this year that's going to be valued from what we talked about on Monday, where are they devaluing the running back position? I think a team will bite this offseason.
Yeah, if they let him go, they end up with like a third-round comp pick for 27, I believe, if they do their math right, unlike how Joe Shane did it with Saquon Barkley. That's a whole nother story. Speaking of those Giants, the Giants are not as flush in cap money whatsoever as the Jets. Looks like they're going to have to do some finagling. They've talked about possibly cutting and likely cutting Bobby Okereke, their starting linebacker for the last couple of seasons. Just hasn't been very effective out there. Probably can get similar results from a much cheaper player, and he's going to want more money after this season anyway. Tight end is a guy, and Isaiah Likely coming from the Ravens is a name to watch, as is the big ticket name that the Giants are looking at, which is Ravens center Tyler Linderbaum, the second-ranked center in the league last year, according to PFF. Other guys we mentioned, Nahshon Wright, and then there's Colts wide receiver Daniel Jones's favorite deep ball target this season, Alec Pierce. Defensive tackle DJ Reader is another name, and they may trade Thibodeau to try to free up some of that cap room.
Pierce makes a lot of sense for the Giants if they decide not to go for a wide receiver at number 5. They could trade out of that spot and still land a wide receiver if they can extend and add more picks. Second round would be more likely where the Giants probably go if they don't bring a wide receiver in the first round. But Tate's a guy that I've heard that the Giants are very intrigued and very interested in. They'll wait until the combine to really see if he's 100% healthy. But to me, I think that the Giants are not really going to have much to move and much to trade. Now, Thibodeau, they could sign and trade him, but it's what I'm hearing, it's Dexter Lawrence is where they're going to try to move his contract to free up some contract money where they can add maybe 2 pieces for 1. I think it's a big mistake. If the Giants decide to move Dexter Lawrence, I still think he has a lot left in him. He has been the cornerstone of their defense. It would be a huge mistake after having one bad season because he wasn't 100% healthy, because you like what Burns did. Burns is 30 years old, and to me as a linebacker, he's at the bottom 18 of his career. I don't know how many years you think that
Burns isn't that old.
Yeah, he is.
And he's an outside linebacker.
How old is Burns, Speedy? 28, I believe. I thought he was older than that.
No way. 27. He's 27. He'll be 28 in a couple of months. He'll be age 28 season. He'll be 30 at the end of this contract. This is the last big contract he's going to get, probably. He had one good year, and as far as I'm concerned, when you see Burns is a good player. I'm not saying he wasn't good with Carolina. He was a good player. He was a top 12, top 13 linebacker, but he had an unbelievable year this year. Can he do it over and over and over again? And I still think Dexter Lawrence, even though Dexter Lawrence was not at the top, at the top of his game this year, he created double and triple teams that helped Burns. Really, it opened up for Burns to be the player he was. I think it's a big mistake if they let go of Dexter Lawrence. Yeah, I'm not hearing that about Dexter. I'm hearing that he's the guy because of the contract that he has. There's no reason to, because they can wait till the very end and then do the extension void years thing with his contract and free up that room after, like, all those things where, like, you can only spend so much of the money. This is a way to, like, cheat and open up more money later on. And they'll use it if there's like a big name that comes out. That's what I was hearing about Dexter. But obviously he had a down season for his standards last year. As far as the stats, he was an all-world player the 2 years consistently before that. Not as much this yet.
4 minutes ago, a heavy, as far as I'm reading right now, is Giants facing difficult decisions on keeping Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah.
I've seen like 5 stories that they're looking to.
I'm just saying. I was listening to the Coutinho and 𝐬𝐿 and all the Giants beat writers and Bizignano, and they're all just kind of saying that he's probably going to be more of a down the road situation, unless, like you said, if someone wants to give first round picks
I
for a
don't
guy
know.
like that.
I think they get one for him and maybe a second.
But you don't trade him if you can't. You know what I mean? There's no point.
They'll get what the Jets got for Quinn Williams. They'll get a first.
He should be worth more than Quinnen Williams. He's a better player than Quinnen Williams.
Quinnen Williams was better than Dexter Lawrence this past year. And
I would disagree with that. They're different players. Like one's a 3-tech, one's a 1-tech, but like they're both very good. Obviously,
I'm saying that this year, going into after the season that Dexter Lawrence had, I'm going to say Quinnen Williams was better, especially when he went to the Cowboys. He was a better player than
he certainly woke their defense up. That's right. You know, like they needed a guy like him. So good for them on getting him. Let's get off of this and get into just finishing it up. Not much Western New York sports right now to talk. Obviously, hockey's in the break right now for the Olympics. We'll talk about Olympic hockey on Monday. But the Bills, we want to talk quickly about their weird story about vandalism at their stadium that's being constructed. Apparently, there's a reward for $100,000 for some graffiti found all over the place inside the building of New Highmark Stadium. It's apparently they think it might be an inside job. Who knows? The Bills are just wacky like that. But the guys that they need are obvious. They had no pass rush, and they had no receivers. So Trey Hendrickson is just sitting there for them. There's no way he's going to the Bengals. They don't have to pay him as much as he got previously because he didn't have the big season.
They need a big name badly.
But let's talk about the wide receivers because it's obvious. We mentioned a couple with Alec Pierce already and Wan'Dale Robinson, but Mike Evans is the name everyone's talking about for the Bills. Makes so much sense as the outside receiver, red zone threat. Pickens is available, likely, unless he gets tagged or something like that.
Yeah, that's true.
And then, Juwan Jennings from the 49ers might come available as well as a kind of
I'd stay away
number
from
2
him.
guy.
It's Mike Evans. That's the guy. And automatically that makes them a contender. They need a guy that's going to dominate on the outside, go up and get the ball. Josh Allen has not had a player of this magnitude. If Mike Evans go ever, I don't care. You want to say Diggs was great? That's fine. He is not Mike Evans. This guy's a Hall of Famer. He's a tough player, go up for the ball type of player, red zone dominance. He's everything you want in a wide receiver. For the next 2 years, to have Mike Evans at the top of his game and fairly healthy too. I mean, he misses a significant amount of games here and there, but I mean, he misses like 2 or 3 games this season, but he still plays a significant amount of games. So I'm going to tell you this right now. Mike Evans would be the slam dunk for them. You could bring in a Trey Hendrickson. He'll take less money. Mike Evans would take less money. And if they bring in those 2 guys, contenders, Super Bowl contenders, they're the favorites of coming out of the AFC. Slam dunk.
Mike Evans' trade makes perfect sense. I think you trade a big-bodied receiver back.
You don't have to give up
Tampa.
much for him either.
I would say you either give up Josh.
3rd round.
Yeah. Josh Palmer, and maybe not even a 3rd round. Like maybe get
a 3rd round.
Yeah, because they have so many big-bodied receivers, Buffalo. But you need one that actually has good talent. Coleman's been obviously streaky with all the off-field issues that he had. I'm more worried about their interior than I am with their outside fish. But still, at the same time, you want to explore the market. If you can get Hendrickson, maybe if the Giants do trade Thibodeau, that's an option for them too. Or you have to give them like a 3rd or 4th round pick, which I don't think. But I'm more worried about their second guy next to Ed Oliver, especially if he doesn't come back healthy.
Yeah, I would imagine, I'm looking at the Bills draft, and I'm thinking they're going for the beef this year on the defensive side. Yep. It would make a lot of sense to me. So let's just finish up. Let's talk a little college hoop, Big East basketball. 2 big teams this year are UConn Huskies and St. John, so we're going to focus in on them until the dance. But as far as the UConn got knocked off by Creighton, it was pretty bad. They were home favorites, 15.5 points. They gave up 91 points. Dan Hurley called the defense an absolute joke. Lost his mind in a press conference. Went a little viral. Said they're playing with fire. They're kind of in a range right now where they could be a 2-3, and if they don't break up, maybe even a 4 seed, but probably a 2 or a 3 seed the way it's going right now. St. John's,
good for both.
12-game win streak right now. 3rd longest in college basketball, only behind Liberty and undefeated Miami of Ohio. But one of the games, there was a huge fight. And second leading scorer, Bryce Hopkins, got fouled by Duncan Powell. Speedy, you said you were almost had this guy on the
I
show.
had him on the show 5 years ago. And funny story. So the first time we were supposed to have him on the show, he left his phone in his locker, so he couldn't get it.
Mario.
So we had to reschedule with him. And then he became, I think, our first video interviews we ever did on StreamYard.
It looked like he had like the Daniel Bryan front face lock in on him in that play. Obviously, suspensions for 3 games for Hopkins, for Powell, for pulling Hopkins down by the head.
I will say this. I think UConn is going to be a Final Four team. I think St. John's could be an Elite 8 Final Four team. I think both teams and the way they've played and recruiting some of the older players in St. John's, I think Pitino obviously knows what he was looking for, what he was missing in the March Madness tournament last year. They didn't have enough offense. Well, this year, they've been better offensively. They've shot better at the three-point line. I think St. John's could be very deep, very dangerous because of their defensive prowess and the youth, and obviously the veteran players that they have. UConn, they're young. They have all these 18 and 19-year-olds, but I think Danny Hurley is so aggressively funny on and off the court. He yells at the other team's players. He's to me, he's the heart and soul of that team. And I think UConn are so dangerous for these tournaments just because Danny Hurley he coaches the game completely different than everybody else in the nation. UConn's dangerous. I think they have the size and they have the ability to score in many different ways. And of course, the defensive prowess that they have. They could be my favorite to winning the whole thing this year.
Yeah, they're the only team with those kinds of exceptions. A little iffy with the offensive efficiency. A very young team, which usually doesn't win titles in today's game.
They got 2 guys that could be first-round draft
I was going to say, Danny Hurley is the one coach I could trust to make that kind of thing work and still win a title. Like you said, St. John's looks better offensively.
Older and very well coached.
Much more deeper offensively, thanks to Hopkins. They have two other guys that are scoring over 15 a game too, which is something they did not have last year. So definitely a good sign. They'll probably be like a 3 or 4 seed unless they win the Big East tournament. Then they might be a 2, but it doesn't matter. They need to build a good foundation. They're doing that.
And that's it for the carousel. It'll spin again next week.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we call this the Deuce of the Day.
The Deuce of the Day.
You log. Not a log. I don't have a log, but I mean, you know.
One of my favorite Christmas movies, A Christmas Vacation. And I love that part. You log? You're like, I don't know. Anyways, it seems like Kevin Durant again is back with his Twitter accounts, ladies and gentlemen. And boy, oh boy, is he pissing people off. Durant, who has more than 19.3 million followers on his public Twitter accounts, is accused of using another and anonymous account with a handle called @GetHigher77. Screenshots of group chats involving the account or that account show that @GetHigher77 criticizing current Rocket teammates like 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐜 and Jabari Smith Jr., as well as other teammates or former teammates like Devin Booker, James Harden, and Draymond Green and Russell Westbrook. Oh my God. Does this guy ever learn? Does this guy actually ever learn about just keeping these Twitter accounts to himself? How many Twitter accounts do you need, Kevin? How many things do you need to hide? And why are you throwing your teammates under the bus? Does it make any sense? This guy has been the best player on every one of those rosters. When you think about the OKC Thunder with Harden, Russell Westbrook, and the talent that they had over there, and obviously striking out against Miami the one year that they made it to the finals, and then going and jumping ship. He went to the Brooklyn Nets. He had Kyrie Irving and James Harden. How did that work out over there? Everywhere he's gone. The only time he won was with Golden State because he had Steph Curry and Thompson and Draymond Green in their primes of their career. He was the best player on a team, but he needed to join forces. And now he's joined forces with Twitter once again with 7, 8, 9, 10 Twitter accounts and throwing teammates under the bus. When is he going to get popped in the face? This man needs to be knocked the hell out. All I see now is him going to these weddings and dancing and prancing around, doing his what do they call it? The crab dance? The guy can't dance for crap. He's a doofy 6'11", ridiculous personality who has nothing good to say about anybody but himself, and he calls himself the greatest offensive talent the NBA has ever seen. The only thing he's great at is hiding away behind his Twitter account. So my deuce of the day goes to the one we call Kevin or Durant or Mr. Twitter himself, X, whatever you call it, Kevin Durant. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking to former 12-year Pro Bowl running back, Amen Green. He'll be joining us. We're going to be very happy and enjoyful attack. No, I'm just kidding. I love Mr. Green. I watched him play for the one we call the Packers. I know Brett Favre. I love Brett Favre, and I love the way Green ran the ball in the time that he dominated the league. So when we come back, we'll have Amen Green joining us. But first, our Sports Minute with the one we call Fish.
3, 2, 1. This is the Jabba and the Mouth Sports Minute.
All right, guys, Aaron Fishman here with your Sportsman. I got a couple of stories before we go through the scores this evening. In an effort to put some extra fuel in that tank, the Dallas Mavericks, after trading away Anthony Davis, who they traded Luka Doncic away for, in less than a calendar year after acquiring him, after firing Nico Harrison, will go down as one of the worst GMs in NBA history, have announced as star point guard Kyrie Irving, who has missed the entire season so far, recovering from a torn ACL, suffered last season, will not return to the court this year. Irving's agent Chetella Riley, told ESPN Shams Charania on Wednesday, this is about Kyrie being 1,000% when he comes back and giving himself the best chance to chase a championship next season. Irving, for his part, is also excited for the future prospects with the franchise. This decision wasn't easy, but it's the right one. I'm grateful for the Mavericks organization, my teammates, and our fans for their continued support throughout the process. I'm looking forward to coming back stronger next season. The belief and drive I have inside only grows, and I want to send a huge shout out to all of my brothers and sisters out there who have torn their ACL or gotten injured doing what they love to do every day. Thank you for the inspiration. No fear. Since acquiring Irving, the Mavericks were able to get to the NBA Finals in the curiously short-lived union with him and Luka Doncic, and have been 75-53 with him in the lineup, as opposed to a record of 42-75 without Irving. The Mavericks will look to add one of the top prospects in a loaded 2026 draft to pair with Irving next year, along with rookie sensation Cooper Flagg, after this obvious tank job is over this year. The Super Bowl winning Seattle Seahawks announced on Tuesday, according to sources into ESPN, that Super Bowl MVP running back Kenneth Walker III will likely not be tagged and will be an unrestricted free agent this offseason. Walker, who will turn 26 in the middle of next year, had 135 rushing yards and 161 total yards in the Super Bowl, not including a 60-plus yard TD run that was negated by a penalty in a game where he could do very little wrong. Walker, it appears, will be getting a nice payday for his efforts, as the Seahawks will not be giving him the franchise or transition tag to allow him to get that big second contract most players dream of. Walker and the Jets running back Breece Hall, as we talked about earlier in the show, are expected to be the top backs on the free agent market and are likely to get well over $10 million a season in their next deals. Despite losing backup running back Zach Charbonnet in the playoffs to a torn ACL, likely costing him all next season, the Seahawks will apparently either pay Walker, which might be unlikely, or try to find the next Walker in the draft this year. Only basketball in action right now with the Olympic hockey freeze. The Pistons and the Knicks are facing off, the battle of the best two teams in the East. It's 45-41. Pistons over the Knicks with 3:39 to go in the first half at the Garden. 4:12 left in the third. It's 74-72 Hornets over the Rockets. Cavaliers all over the Nets, 87-51 with about 7 minutes in the third there. 7:27 left in the third. Hawks 73, Sixers 67, Wizards 72, Pacers 65, 5 minutes in the third, and about 3:30 left in the first quarter. 17-14 Raptors over the Bulls. Still to come tonight, Spurs Sun, Celtics Warriors, Magic Kings, and the Nuggets face the Clippers. Guys, we are streaming live on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube on our Job in the Mouth handle, on Facebook under the Worldwide Sports Radio Network handle, and on Twitter under our host handle at ErrolMarks34. Keep downloading on Apple Podcasts and watch us both there and on Spotify. Now in video. Make sure you like and subscribe all our shorts, reels, TikToks, and longer videos you see from us throughout the week. Now back to Errol and Speedy for our guest on Jabba and the Mouth.
Any questions? We're back. This is the Jabba and the Mouth Show.
Breaking news. You want to get me off? Breaking news. Oh my God. Breaking news. They call me the ladies' man and Mr. 𝐿𝐵𝐿. Breaking news. Please, mom.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, 631 672 3108 is the number to call. You're listening to Jabba and the Mouth. Ladies and gentlemen, Jabba is not in the studio tonight. is hanging out. He's in Kansas City working out his son as he's getting ready, or he's starting his baseball drive for college baseball. So shout out to Carter. Shout out to Jabba. But you are listening to the mouth himself, Mr. Errol Marks, Mr. Speedy Petey, executive producer, Mr. Aaron Fishman, on the board, Tommy Poops, in the back end, I mean the real back end, Mr. Nath himself, the PR manager. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including Jabba and the Mouth every single Mondays and Thursdays at 6:45 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out all local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And our show is brought to you by Omaha Steaks, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen, they're giving you 10% off on all their orders if you're a Jabba and the Mouth fan. Just click the omahasteaks.com/Jabba and the Mouth logo or clicker, or you could go to our website at worldwidesportsradio.com and click the Omaha Steaks logo. If you like your steaks nice and juicy, nice and thick, double bake it, double smack it like Speedy likes it, or your sausage McMuffins like Speedy likes the Omaha Steaks logo on it. Ladies and gentlemen, get your Omaha Steaks for 10% off. Oh, a little dry there, right, Speedy? You like it dry, right? No, I don't. You like it wet?
Yes, I like meat tender.
You like it tender. You see it, you hear that. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time on Jabba in the Mouth, we are now talking to former 12-year Pro Bowl running back Ahman Green. What's up, Mr. Green?
Nothing much. How you guys doing?
We're good, man. We're cool. We're collective. It's funny. I call you Mr. Green because we've had a couple of greens on this show, and
Correct.
I like the color green. I think we all like the color green, especially if it's in my pocket.
Oh, of course.
can
Of
only
course.
hope, you know.
I'm not going to turn down green like that,
Nobody
especially
would.
when it's in my pocket.
That's absolutely true. And speaking of green, your Green Bay Packers. I mean, it starts with green and it ends with the pack. But here's the problem with the Green Bay Packers, my friend. Obviously Micah Parsons goes down. This team all season long, they had their ups and their downs. Everybody thought that at the end of the season, maybe they should fire the coach. But you heard what Love said at the press conference. Why are we talking about this? We just lost. We just got knocked out of the playoffs. I don't want to talk about who the coach of the team. I want to talk about why we didn't win this game. Why do you think the Green Bay Packers this year couldn't make that next step?
I say just experience, watching the playoffs for all teams, but for my team in particular, seeing Jordan, the offense, even Coach LaFleur, even though they've had the success since he's been in the head coaching job, and then Jordan at the quarterback position since Aaron's left, it's a thing called experience where playing in certain games, you kind of know what you have to mentally prepare for. So these athletes physically are there. It's the mental side of it. When you're actually going into a rival divisional game where this is the third time you first faced the team and it didn't go good the last time. So you have that going on. But then now you start off fast, first half of this game, the playoff game, and then second half, not much going with the offensive side of the ball. And so that's between, Coach LaFleur and I say the players on that team, from the play calling, executing, and not being, having that a phrase that we said a whole lot, a sense of urgency. So just having that's the lack of that. That's what that game was about. And the Bears turned it on. They knew they had to, they figured out what they needed to do. And they already had that experience from the previous game when they beat them in Soldier Field, or just a few weeks, prior. So that right there was the edge that Chicago had going into that game and then finishing the game, because they had already finished the game before and beat my Packers. So it's just now mentally, I tell people all the time, this game is not a hard game to play. Physically, when you match up evenly, it just comes down to who is thinking clearer and then has that emotional push at the right time to then execute and not hesitate in any thought process, from blocking to throwing a pass to catching the ball, not all that anxiousness and nervousness that comes in to that might make you pause. That's where the game is won and lost. And it's that close. It's just a fine line. It wasn't nothing where it was, oh my God, it was a margin of this much that the Packers lost by or they should have won by. It's just now they have that experience clocked in. So what's going to be interesting is this next coming seasons and the season to come, where Jordan Love and that Packers offense, along with the defense, is going to be facing with Caleb, and they got experience. So we're going to see some battles, coming up in the next few years between these young teams, because they're still young and they got young leaders, in terms of the quarterback position and the head coach position, between Ben and Matt, and already the animosity that's been created by phantom handshakes or whatever you want to call it, and then the Packer fans, where I had to get on my fan base a little bit, because I'm like, you don't raise a petition for another coach to apologize to another coach. No, we got to be grown ass men and women and take an L like an L. We took the L. That's it. I never went over down to Chicago and say, Urlacher, hey man, we got to get the petition. Y'all didn't win that last. No, take the L like a grown person and call it a day.
You have a guy like Tucker Kraft, who was becoming a superstar this year.
Yeah.
He was the best tight end
He's a dude
throughout the first half of the season. He was unstoppable. He had that game that he had 3 touchdowns. He was putting up ridiculous numbers as a tight end. He was looking at like the next Travis Kelce, the next George. I'm sorry,
Kittle.
George Kittle. I mean, he was playing that kind of football, and then having the injury that he had and being knocked out of the season, I definitely believe it hurt the development of this offense this year. Jordan Love, who was really, Tucker Kraft was his go-to guy really throughout the season. Losing him at the tail end of the season really affected him. Why do you think Tucker Kraft is that type of player, and he's the guy, he's the go-to guy moving forward in 2026-27?
Oh man, because he has the talent. I mean, he has the mental, he has the physical. He's a dude, as I call it in my book. Guys that know how to get on the football field and they draw attention. And then even if they draw the attention, you can't stop them. That feeling for a defensive player is dismantling, and I love it when I see it. When I see that, I remember when I used to look across the defensive line or offensive line and see Warren Sapp get that kickstand where you put that hand on the hip. He's breathing hard. I'm like, we got him. We got game over. And so that's the type of dude that Tucker is. When you get him doing tight end reverses, he's part of the tush push now. He's holding on to the rock that saves Jordan from getting banged up doing that. So that's a bonus there. And he just had that mentality. Once I saw the film of when he got drafted, a couple years ago, I said, oh, they got a dude. I saw him catching the ball and running and stiff arming, and what you see right there on film right there against the Rams, he was doing that at SDU. So I'm like, or SDU State. I said, oh, we got a dude. I said, so I'm excited about him and how he develops. And the injury is just a bump in the road. He's gonna come back full goal. And then that weapon, another weapon for Jordan's arsenal that has a bunch of young wide receivers that are hungry. You got a young veteran running back with Josh Jacobs, and I love his style. He's, we're probably, I say I'm a little taller than him, so that's only makes the difference between him and I. So I could say mini me, but he's a big man on campus running the ball, and I like that because then the offense is not just one way balanced. It's not just run heavy. You gotta stop the pass, and then if you don't, you know what? We're gonna beat you up in the middle between the A and B gaps with Josh. And Emmanuel Wilson as well. He coming off the bench too, running the ball very well. The one part that was I say kind of the sucky part of the end is Zach Tom and I believe Davis from the free agent from San Francisco having the injuries that slowed them up. That was something that as a pro and at any level, when you have key players beat up, you see the difference on the football field of how effective they are, when they're 50%, out there just trying to get it going to when they're 100%. So you saw that towards the end of the season.
So I want to go to the team you started your career with, the Seattle Seahawks, obviously winning the Super Bowl, MVP, being a running back, and Kenneth Walker, your position. Now there's a discussion of whether they re-sign him or not. He wants $13 million a year. Obviously, the running back contract market has not been great. What are your impressions? Obviously, the Seahawks' dominance with the Super Bowl, for one, with their defense and their running game, and with running back contracts in general across the NFL. What are your thoughts?
I'll say, what my impression of the game, amazing. I knew both teams had defenses, but I didn't realize they were ranked 1 and 2 right behind each other, right? And you saw the difference, though. And it was basically watching what I watched in person in New York when Seattle played Denver, when Peyton was trying to get another one, and the Legion of Boom said, nope, not today. We're going to get some pick sixes. We're going to get KJ running an interception back, right? So that was the same thing. They had the defensive line. They had the linebackers doing their job. And they're, balanced, tackling, making plays, getting the ball tipped, and just putting pressure on Drake to where eventually he was pushed in a situation where, I got to throw this ball up to see what happens. That's where the turnovers happen. And then when the defense does that, they pretty much got the game in hand. And, wasn't much scoring early, but it came later, so I always liked him from the time he got on the team, Kenny Walker the third. He's a shifty back and he's a small back, but he runs hard. And so he's kind of another throwback guy like Josh Jacobs that we have in Green Bay. So watching him run is fun, because he sets up. He's almost got that Le'Veon Bell patience where he sets up, takes his time, walk through the hole, and then boom, he's exploding through the hole and he's past you. And that for a defender, trust me, that's a sucky feeling to see the running back get past you and you're like, God dang it, he was right here. It's like, nope, he's gone. So that offense, along with what Darnold did, because he kept that patience, that experience that he's gained from being a Jet first rounder to the backup 49er to the backup.
Why are you trying to kill me? Amen. Why are you killing me here? You had to mention it. You had to bring up the Jets. You had to. Every single ex-athlete that comes on the show, they got to slip that in. They had to slip the New York.
It's business. It's not personal.
I got it.
We just met. Okay. We just met. So trust me, it's all business. I'm just freaking facts of what I saw on the field and I'm breaking it down because what he did in Minnesota and then come to another team. And I told this to Josh Jacobs for his first year. I'm like, to do what you did, come into this team as a Packer and to become a Pro Bowl player, not just regardless of his position, that's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
It took me a couple years. When I got traded, then it was in my second year, 01 is where I became a Pro Bowler. So to do that year one out of the chute, from a team where you got, free agent, let him go from the Raiders, and then he goes to Green Bay, Pro Bowl first year, that's magic. And he did it again this year. So no, business, always business, just spitting facts, man. Not trying to rub nothing
no
in.
pleasure. I mean, no pleasure for me when I hear that. As soon as you bring up the Jets, and I can remember Sam Darnold getting drafted as the third pick, youngest quarterback ever drafted, and I was so pissed off when the Jets traded him for a 2 and a 4, and watch this guy win a Super Bowl and hoist that Lombardi Trophy. I was like, why me? Why me? As a Jet fan, as it always is said. By the way, for everybody to know, we are talking to former 12-year Pro Bowl running back Ahman Green, played from 1998 to 2009, long career with the Seattle Seahawks, the Packers, and the Texans. A lot of fans want to know what type of quarterback Brett Favre is in the locker room and what type of quarterback Aaron Rodgers is. You got a chance to get to know both guys.
Yep.
What type of personalities are both these guys?
I'll say Brett, he is in the locker room, he's a fun going guy. He doesn't like the room temperature to get below 98 degrees. He don't want it to be cold and uncomfortable and nobody having fun. So he played a lot of practical jokes. He had a fart machine on the daily. He would pour a full thing of cold water on your head just to wake you up, or Gatorade to really mess up your practice uniform. That was him. And Aaron was I say sneaky about the practical jokes. He was a joker too, but he would be more inside jokish, kind of like the new generation is, having inside jokes, laughing amongst a couple of the quarterbacks or what have you. And so, but a solid teammate and somebody that you want to go out there and make sure you're protecting them. As that was my job. I in my head, I was the last line of defense for both guys. When I played more with Brett, but the few times I had with Aaron, I'm like, I'm the Kevlar. We got the electric fence with the offensive line, and I'm literally stuck to the quarterback's body. So I'm it. I'm the last person that somebody's going to try to walk through to get to the quarterback. So I made sure I protected them both. And I say on the field, Brett was one of those guys that he's a physical guy for a quarterback, a guy that he's going to, if he get past the line of scrimmage, he's going to do something that is going to probably piss the head coach off. He's going to throw a block or trying to run somebody over, and we're like, Brett, save that for me and Dorsey or whoever else is running the ball, or Bubba catching the ball. Let us do the running. You do the throwing and the reading the coverages and stuff like that. And I'll say, speaking of coverages, every now and then we had to tell him, hey, man, you can't throw the ball in there. It's 3 guys. You got 3 giants right there. You have 3 Jets. Don't throw the ball. Throw it to out of bounds or to me. I'm in the flat, wide open, but you love him. And he gave it all he could. And he was a big kid. And then Aaron, too, seeing him when I was with him young and developing preseason ball, he played a lot. We had more time then and there. And then obviously training camp, the way he threw the ball in practice, the way I've seen him throw the ball in some of the games I had early with him, and then actually later in 2009, I knew right away. I say, this is the next dude. He's just going to have to wait his turn. When he got there, it was 2005, and he didn't get on that field till, 2008. He was on it a little bit in 2007, but 2008 was when Coach McCarthy gave him the keys to the car, and we didn't know it was going to be another 20-year slate and Super Bowl win and all that, but we knew that this is another dude that I'm fortunate for the Packer organization to have decades of another great quarterback, and that just makes it all easier to try to game plan offense, defense, to make sure that team is doing what they need to do offensively to move the ball.
Now, Mike McCarthy just was hired to do a job over there in Pittsburgh, his hometown, his home city.
Yeah.
And I love Mike McCarthy. I thought that the Giants should have hired Mike McCarthy if they want to develop a quarterback.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart, he developed Aaron Rodgers.
He's damn good at doing that. Yes.
Yeah, and Dak Prescott too. Look at what Dak Prescott's numbers transitioned into when he took over there for the Cowboys. I thought the Giants did a disservice for Jackson Dart. Not that John Harbaugh is not a great coach. I thought Mike McCarthy was a better fit. What type of coach is Mike McCarthy for all the Pittsburgh fans that get to know who he is?
I say coming in first year, usually what he does is he gets to know everybody. He gets to know the lay of the land. He starts off with in the locker room with his players and then coaches, obviously GM as well. And then he gets to know the town, but he already knows the town. He's one of those townie. He's a townie. He's from that area. So that is going to be his comfort zone. And then once he gets in and introduces himself and everybody, he treats everybody like a man, like a grown ass man. He tells you, he shoots you straight. When you want to hear something you want to hear, he's going to say it. When you don't want to hear something you don't want to hear, he's going to shoot you. He's going to tell you. So and for me, I didn't want it any other way. I had my mom and dad raised me that way. My dad used to always never beat around the bush. When I was in trouble, I was in trouble. When I needed something corrected, it got corrected. So having Coach McCarthy and coaches like him throughout my career from college to pro, those are the coaches I like. The assistants, it don't matter. Just long, you can read me the riot act anytime, but coach me up, help me get better. And that's what he did. I remember my first year with him in 2006. It was kind of a miscommunication on a few instances where I misread the schedule, like when we needed to be on the practice field, but right before practice. And if I know you guys heard of Lombardi time, which is 5 to 10 minutes before. And I remember I came out, I think special team practice was just wrapping up. And I was probably like 10 minutes. I was like 5 or 2 minutes. I was within 5 minutes of our next practice. And he comes over to me. He's like, hey, G. He said, I need you to get here a little early. I'm like, I'm on time though. He's like, just a little bit because, the younger guys are watching you. You one of our leaders. And I'm like, first it kind of bugged me a little bit, but then it clicked like, I get what you. I was like, okay, coach, I got you. It took a little bit for me to get used to that because I was already early, but he wants to get there early so he kind of can have the leaders of the team, like I was one of them, and show the rookies, like, this is how we do it. We get out there 5-10 minutes early to make sure we have that leadership, because he knows it's not just him leading the team along with the coaches. It's the players at certain positions that been there for a minute or just shows this is how you play football. This is how you be a professional and go out here and practice to then transition over into the game field on Saturdays on preseason ball or Sundays on game day come the regular season.
So last year we had one of your teammates on the show. One of our favorite interviews we ever did. That was Leroy Butler.
Oh yeah, he's fun.
He got inducted a few years ago. He actually some great Brett Favre and Reggie White stories.
Hall of Famer, Speedy.
All day.
I said he did it. I didn't induct him in the Hall of Famer.
Give him some respect.
I said he got inducted in the Hall of Fame 3 years ago.
We interviewed him when he was in his car and his son was in the back seat, but we interviewed him.
Yes, and it was the best car service any of our guests have ever had. But
okay.
It was also funny. He was also making Errol seem like he was like 10 years younger than he was.
That's funny.
I like so what was your experience like with him? He was kind of towards the end of the career when you went to Green Bay, but how was he on and off the field?
Oh, he was a great guy. He was a solid teammate. And like when I got there in 2000, And a lot of those guys were still there, part of the Super Bowl team, the 96 team. You know, in my head, I was so focused and locked in. Like when I got traded, along with a couple other things, like not wanting to go back to the Midwest, but I'm like, I'm going to a place where they've been to Super Bowls. You know, this team in particular, not the organization, but these 11, 12 guys on offense, 11, 12 guys on defense, they just were at 2 Super Bowls. They lost to Denver at 1, then the other one, they beat the New England Patriots. So I'm coming into a place where I got to be on my best behavior, and I got to be playing grade A football, like top end football, no matter what, even in practice, you know. And my first mini camp, I remember just walking in that huddle, being a fan, like, man, this is Brett Favre. This is William Henderson. Across the ball is Gilbert Brown, and then Leroy Butler. He had a couple sacks in the Super Bowl. I was like, okay, man, that means I got to come out here and be that dude that they expect me to, and that's why I got traded here. So it started at day one. And then the other part that made it easier was the fact they welcomed me in just like I was a part of the gang for the last couple years. It was no hazing. It was no, giving me a hard time about anything. It was like, hey, man, how you doing? You just got traded from Seattle. Hey, so-and-so was in Seattle. And it was all welcoming. So that open arm style from even Dorsey and William Henderson, the running backs, right? Running back, fullback, where obviously I was at a place with a great guy, person, Ricky Waters, but he knew he had a competitive nature about himself, that he knew that I was the incumbent running back. And he knew I was one of those dudes that could push him, and get him out the job. But, it's like I said at the part when I mentioned the Jets, it's business, not personal. Wow. And you got to understand that. And
a lot of personal with the New York Jets.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but Dorsey, he took me in, and that helped me in my process of transitioning over as a Packer and getting into the offensive playbook, which was Coach Sherman, who was there in Seattle with me, but then brought me over and kept his same verbiage, that helped me a whole lot in the next couple of years to transition over and become one of the guys in Green Bay.
We are talking to former 12-year Pro Bowler, yes, Pro Bowl running back Ahman Green, played from 98 to 2009 with the Seahawks, the Packers, and the Texans. Mr. Green, 2003 was your greatest year. It was unbelievable. You had 15 touchdowns. You had over 1,800 yards. You were unbelievable. You were having a Saquon Barkley year where it was just unstoppable.
I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, you were sensational. And honestly, for like a 3 or 4 year stint, you were the best running back in the league. You could argue you were a top 3 running back in all of football. That's how good you were. It's an amazing, actually, it was 4 years that was just back-to-back, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004. Everybody knew who you were, how dominant you were. What really switched? What was that trigger that switched you into being an elite running back? What gave you that thought that you can be an elite running back in this league?
I knew it once I got drafted. It just, I was pissed off, and I was a 3rd round pick at Seattle. That's what happened. That's what started it. And I became a special teamer because I could, they drafted, or they free agent Ricky Waters in from the Eagles, and he was the big money back. So that's where I learned business, right? They're going to pay the guy who's going to get paid the most is going to get the ball, regardless of who's better. I learned that year one. And so I was like, you know what? All right, I'm going to make this, I'm going to make lemonade out of lemons. I'm not going to be sourpuss. Oh man, I'm not starting. I'm not the guy. You know what? I'm going to go out and bust some heads on this kickoff coverage, make some plays on punt return. And then whatever happens, happens. I became the 3rd down back my rookie year. I ended up setting a record for conversions of 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 my rookie year. And then same thing my 2nd year. And then boom, that's why Mike Sherman traded for me in the trade with Fred Vinson and a 5th round conditional pick, right before the day before the draft. And Seattle
robbery.
Yes. And they drafted Shaun Alexander, another great back out of Alabama, to Seattle, and I get the Green Bay. So even bigger chip on my shoulder, like, oh, I see what the game plan was here. Mike Holmgren, he labeled me a fumbler, which I knew I wasn't. Sometimes you just have a bad game. Sometimes you have some bad moments as a young player, and you get stuff in your head, and you got to shake it out. And I did. I always knew I wasn't a fumbler, so I shook that off, and that's why those 4 years went the way those did. Things after that, some things going on off the field with my family, so it was kind of distracting a little bit. In 05, tore my quad and all that, but came back 06, got the 1,000 yards again, and went free agent to the Texans. Didn't quite work out there, and that's sometimes the way the ball bounces. But always for like those 4 years, like you mentioned, it was those between my draft years to then transition to Green Bay. Look, give me an opportunity to prove that a Nebraska running back can do the job of an NFL running back, because that was the question. Oh, he's a Nebraska back. He's a system guy. He's only got that because they got big hogs up front blocking for him, and you got an option offense that's 50 years old. I'm like, it damn sure works, you know. So what's the problem? But I wanted to outprove all that from all the scouts that looked me over and just thought I was a guy that couldn't last 4 quarters, that wasn't fast. Well, I ran a 4.140 at my pro day. I don't think a lot of people know that. I ran a 4.17 and a 4.18. And you still think I'm not that dude, but okay, I'll get an opportunity to prove it. And when I do, I'm gonna hit you with the knife and turn and twist and say, hey, you should have drafted me. For everybody that passed me over in the 98 draft, that was kind of my mindset for every team I played against.
You know, it's funny because we have a Nebraska guy in job, and I was wondering, what does that do mean? It seems like every Nebraska person that we've had on the show that played for Nebraska football or Nebraska sports was like,
yeah,
no, he's that dude. He's that dude. He's that dude. Now, we actually created a segment, which we're going to call it, He's That Dude. So now I'm starting to realize where this is coming from. It's all from the cornfields of Nebraska.
Well, that's Prince Mukamara.
He's that dude. No, he's that dude. I'm that dude. We're all that dude. That's what I'm starting to read here. The running back position has been an important position over the last 2 years. Yeah. And we look at the elite running backs in the NFL. And I got a chance to meet 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐿 at the Heisman the year before this.
Yep, anymore. Yep.
And I thought he was the Heisman Trophy winner. I love what he did for Boise State. He's got a great personality. He was such a likable person, and I thought he got robbed. And then I got a chance to watch him this year with the Raiders, and I think the Raiders didn't use him right. They didn't have the offensive line, like you said. You needed the beef up there. They didn't really protect him. What do you think a running back going into the NFL needs to know to make them understand the speed of the game in the transition from college to the NFL?
That the speed of the game for a running back is going to come a lot easier because we are in the thick of it. So we're right in the offensive line in terms of ISO plays, counter, outside zone, pitch plays, now the RPO action. So you're going to get it early, you know, come preseason ball. And then by that time, if you played a lot of preseason ball, probably like, you know, I'll say, for example, 𝐷𝐿 did, because he was that dude, because they had other people behind him, but he was drafted first round for a reason. That makes it easier. And really the other part is a lot of people I don't think they see this. This is the elephant in the room. Run plays are the same from the high school level all the way up to the pro level.
That's true.
ISO at a high school level, it's the same ISO you run at Nebraska, the same ISO you run at Boise State, to the same ISO you're going to run at the Raiders. Power gap, counter, outside toss, outside zone. It's the same footwork. So he's not having to think about, okay, I got to learn cover 3 coverage, and I got to learn when they're going to blitz from the backside to the place, or what happens on the mug when the linebacker's in an A and B gap. That's past stuff, okay, but you can live and learn and make mistakes, but then pick it up fast. But the run game, what we already do is we've been doing it for 12, 15 years since Little League. I don't think a lot of people missed that. I'm like, a lot of the run plays that I ran in Little League, I was running at Green Bay. I was running at Seattle. I was running at the Texans. So that means for 30 plus years, I've been doing this since I was yay high to a grasshopper. So it's like, okay, you know, but for the quarterback position, that's a whole different thing, right? You know, you got players, from the players to the DCs, that are disguising coverages. They're cheating, making a cover 3 look like a cover 1. You know, it's all that. For us, the run game is like, okay, we run, you get the ball, you read your blocks, just like we did in 5th grade. You watch the double team up to the linebacker, then you make your cut off of that. Nothing changes. So if you have the talent and you know that going into every game plan, then you're going to do things that everybody's going to be like, oh my God, why is he doing that? I'm like, oh, because I paid attention.
Oh, I got it. So Amon Green is telling you, all the players out there that want to get into football, be a running back. So if you have the athletic ability, and you don't really have to know anything, just learn what you're learning in high school and peewee football, and you're going to do that in the NFL.
You do have to know something. I'll say that one. I say after that, was it Mark? You got to be the hammer, not the nail.
There you go.
All right. Don't be somebody that absorbs hits. Give it out. If you're gonna be a runner, be that dude. Be like, okay, I want to make it a problem. I want to make the defenders not want to be around me, basically. And I remember one game, I think it was my Seattle a couple of years. I can't remember what game, rookie year maybe. And we played against when they were still the Houston Oilers, now the Tennessee Titans. And Max Strong, my fullback. You remember that name? Great fullback. Absolutely. Great fullback. Great guy off the field. Family man. Awesome dude. Great fullback on the field. And he went to Georgia. We played the Oilers, and one of the guys on the Oilers was his teammate at Georgia. It was a linebacker. I can't remember who it was. But I remember Mac comes up and he grabs me on the shoulder after we're walking in. He's like, "Hey, G," he said, "I don't know what you did, but one of my boys that I went to college with said, tell number 30 to slow his ass down. He's running too fast and hard." I'm like,
means you're doing it right, man.
Right. I said, "Hey, Mac, I can't do that. I'm pedal to the metal for 4 quarters. I know I'm not. I was just on special teams then, blocking people and tackling." He's like, "Slow down." I'm like, "I ain't slowing down. I ain't getting cut. Like, what's your problem? You better speed up with me. Come on, let's go." You know,
keep up with the greenster.
Exactly.
Yeah. My last question, Aman. Nithin was telling me you do a lot of stuff since you've retired from the league with gaming. You actually taught at Lakeland University an esports class. You have your own gaming company now, and you've also done some broadcasting work. So talk about some of the stuff you've done off the field with that.
Oh man, a little bit of everything. So yeah, I coached at Lakeland University for almost 2 years, where I first semester was a Madden championship national title. 𝐼𝐸𝐺, shout out to my man 𝐼𝐸𝐺. He was the player that I coached, 13-0 season. And we beat, I believe, Mr. 𝐼𝐸𝐺 from Carthage College in the NECC for a national title. Second, we were runner-up the second semester in the fall, and then about 12 or 13 playoff bursts between Overwatch, Call of Duty, Fortnite players, FIFA, Super Smash Brothers, Rainbow Six Siege, League of Legends, all those games. I've been a gamer since the age of 5. My dad did that because he was a PC guy. He was an IT guy at a aviation facility in Northrop, California, in South Central LA, or Northrop Aviation, which is similar to Boeing. And that's when it started for me. And so now I've turned it into the next passion. Just like football, I love doing it. I love video games, but also I love the part that relates to football or baseball or basketball. It's the team aspect and some of the skills you learn, accountability, dedication, hard work. When you think about video games, you probably don't think that because you think about Pac-Man and some of the retro games, Legend of Zelda. Yeah, those are the fun games. But
I love Zelda.
You look at the games today that are more competitive, right? Call of Duty, Fortnite, Madden, NBA 2K. Those games have leagues. So now at the college level, all around America and around the world, there are universities, there are esports organizations that now, just like NBA players, just like NFL players, they get drafted or they get picked up, they get signed, and they got to practice, they got training, they got to work on their mechanics and all that. And so did that at Lakeland, transferred over to Nebraska, had a couple, I started that program there, helped that program get off the ground. And now, I just end up doing my own thing, consulting now on the road. I do esports camps for kids, middle school, high school, and down to middle school kids to teach them how to, play video games the proper way. When you're going to be in a team setting, look, you got to hold your own. You got to be accountable for your role. If you're going to, be a tank in Overwatch, or you're going to be the DPS in a matchup like Marvel Rivals or anything, I like that's a great graphic. I love it. Oh man, but yeah, teaching those fundamentals, and so I'm doing that as well. I have a couple podcasts. Mind Green's Gamers Lounge is one that's on Twitch. Do that every Wednesday at 2 p.m. And then I do my Believe in Packers within the Believe Network, where I break down the Packers and season and all that. And that's why I know about them very much. And then now getting ready for a combine, and I'm glad LaFleur got re-signed. They needed to do that because him not being re-signed would have been a problem for many reasons. So good job with 𝐷𝐿𝐷 getting him signed back on and getting ready for the combine. But then another job, I say not job, but I say job. Yeah, I got brought into I got moved down to Houston 2 years ago, and a neighbor of mine, we became friends, even though he's a Bears fan and a Buckeyes fan. He's a great guy, and I met his brother. So it was Ken and Keith, and we're both part of a company business that Ken came up with. It's called Emergent Due Diligence, where we are a M&A company. So we're working in acquisitions and for mergers, and something I never thought I'd be a part of. But what I found out is talking to Ken about it, that once we do call to work with a company, they have to learn leadership development. They got to learn some of those leadership skills, because sometimes at the top of a Fortune 500 business, the CEO, the head, the founder may be the problem. You know, like for example, the Detroit Lions 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That wasn't the players on the field. It was the people up top, the people that own the team, the forwards. They couldn't figure out their right from left or do the business right. Same with the Cowboys, right? Jerry Jones, even though he's a good businessman, sometimes the good businessmen and women, they don't get out the way of themselves to let football coaches be football coaches or be GM, let the GMs be the GM. And he's the GM. You know what I'm saying? So teaching that leadership side of it, accountability and stuff, that's my job with it. Keith and Ken, him and his brother, they are the part of the guys that do all the financial due diligence. Make sure this company that we're going to work with is going to be somebody that obviously is going to have success and have the awareness to basically make pivots if they need to in certain investments and pivots when they don't need to. And so that's where we all come in as a team. So I've been working on that too. That's why I'm sweating. You know,
are you? You don't look like you're sweating.
Yeah, but no, in that space, a space that I never thought I would be in the financial space at the end of my football career. So doing real good with that. We got a couple projects going. I know one of them is a team over in England that we're a part of, and their ownership, and it's so fun. Like, man, I get to go watch a pitch over in England and get a spot at 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭, you know. So I love that. I love that aspect.
I like Green Street Hooligans. I love that movie. That's like
fantastic movie.
Oh, I love that movie.
I saw that movie. I bought it. Like I saw it at Best Buy. I was in Green Bay when it came out, and something told me to buy it. I said, this one. I saw the actors. Some of the actors are still acting today, doing a fantastic job. Absolutely. And something told me to buy it. I watched that movie, and I'm like, okay, they got us on fan bases. Like, I know Packer fans are crazy. I know Bear fans are crazy. I know Cowboy, the Raider fans, Steelers. No, you ain't got nothing on soccer fans over in Europe and Asia and Africa, whatever other countries that
they beat the hell out of each other.
Exactly.
It's like it's
other than Philly fans. Philly fans.
Oh, the Philly fans, after they win a Super Bowl, they're out there picking up horse dump and putting it in their mouth. I mean, some of the stuff that Philly fans do is just absolutely ridiculous. And we've had a lot of Philly players that have come on this show and didn't even know that's what Philly fans do.
Oh, they weren't paying attention then. It doesn't take much. I knew right away, like, the difference between Packer fans and Philly fans, but I also knew Packer fans could get a little rowdy.
Yes.
Right. So, for example, remember when Randy Moss scored a touchdown in Lambeau? He faked like he was mooning the crowd.
That's right. I do remember that game. Absolutely.
He got that from the crowd because the crowd moons the away team by the away team locker room on the north side of the south side of Lambeau Field. That's what I knew. So I wasn't mad at Randy. I'm like, he's just returning the favor to the fans.
Boy,
you know?
Let me tell you.
What's up?
By the way, just so everybody knows, we are talking to 12-year Pro Bowl running back, former Pro Bowl running back, Ahman Green. This is the first time he's been on a show. He's been sensational. Before we let you go, and I know you're a busy man, as you're sweating, and I'm sweating too, because and we want
my fan on. That's what I need to do.
By the way, this is a great interview, and obviously you've never been on a show. We'd love to get you back on the show.
Oh, 100%.
I think you're sensational. I think you have a great background, not only with EA Sports and all the different video games, esports, as they call it. It's pretty amazing what you're doing offset of football. Who is the biggest pain in the ass on the football field? Who talked the most crap? And who was the guy that you just love to play against every single game?
Okay. It could be multiple guys. It could
multiple
be
guys. Give me.
Okay. Well, the one that talked the most trash was Warren Sapp. He talked the most. Even when I'm like walking away trying to ignore him. Number 30, Green, talk to me. Come on, bro. I'm like, shut up. Don't talk to me. Talk to Brett. Y'all having a good conversation. Leave me alone. The guy that was a problem on the football field, his teammate, Derek Brooks. Oh my God. You talking about a problem. He knew he was smart. Whenever time you run the ball, A gap, B gap, don't matter. He's hitting you right in your face. And then his teammate on top of that, another Hall of Famer, John Lynch. You're like, God damn it. Like, what the hell going on? I got to look left and right. And we're 47. I remember my first play in Green Bay as a back in Tampa, we were in Tampa Bay. And Dorsey gave me a warning. He said, hey, G, when you come out the huddle, every play, whatever you do, find 47 pre-snap. check the perimeter, see where he's at, because he likes to hide sometimes. Safeties like to do this, and he's like a linebacker. It's not fair. He says, so fine 47. And of course, break the huddle, 92 blast. Green right, 92 blast. I check the perimeter. God damn it, where's 47? I can't find him. I'm like, oh crap. And here's and Brett goes into cadence, green 80, shit, right, take the ball. I'm like, oh, I got a hole. Boom, I cut back. Oh, there's 47. God damn it, that hurt. Oh my God, that hurt. Remember Tommy Boy when he got hit with the 2x4 by David Spade?
Yes.
That's what it's like. It don't hurt right here. It don't hurt right here, but right around here, it hurts. I walked back to the other like, God damn it, Dorsey was right. I said I didn't doubt Dorsey. I trusted him, and he was dead on. It never happened again after that. Trust me, I knew where 47 was at most of the time. And then a guy that I say, even though he's a Hall of Famer, we knew how to deal with this dude was Mr. 𝐟𝐵𝐿𝐼 down in Chicago. We knew between me, my fullback, and my offensive line, he was lighting the ass. We love him. I love him to death. He is my dude. He's a good friend of mine. We talk a lot. We trash talk. It's all fun and games. But we just knew that we had Will Henderson. He was 6'1", 250.
Oh, I remember.
55. Yeah. I was 6'1", 220. Prime weight was 218. And you got me both of us running downhill, along with Mike Wall, Marco Rivera, Mike Flanagan, Kevin Berry, Mark Tauscher, Clay Clifton. Once we get rolling, we told Coach Sherman, don't even call nothing else other than 96 counter gap and 95. Just let us run that the rest of the drive, because we got 𝐟𝐵𝐿𝐼 on skates the whole game. Like, let's go. So yeah, there's that answer. I know that I think that hit them all for all your questions there.
You did. And by the way, Brian 𝐟𝐿𝐼, I've seen some of his weight training when he was playing. He was benching like 550, 10 times off the chest.
He had a good upper body. He did. His upper, but if you check out his calves.
Yeah.
They were little sticks.
Now I can see
that's why he was so fast. Like, when you get that linebacker so fast, because you look at his legs, he was a sprinter. I mean, he had the talent, but it's like, oh, wait a minute, you can't forklift. You can't move things. I hate to say it, but I think what's his name, Jerome Bettis, he trucked him too.
Oh yeah.
So
Bettis.
That was a weakness, and we what's the word? We exposed it.
Did you
in
ever?
Some cases.
Did you ever?
Cases.
I love the Packers and the Chicago Bears when they played against one another every time. Just like I couldn't stand watching the Jets play the Patriots because I knew what was going to happen. A whole nother story. But anyway, yes. I don't want to get into the Jets and Patriots, but esports is now going to be an Olympic sport. Just so for all the fans to know, that, esports will be a part of the Summer Olympics, I think, in 2028.
Yep, 2028 in LA.
Yeah, I know you're excited about that.
I know I am. I'm gonna be out there, man. If I got to hitchhike and scalp some tickets. So, I'm trying to get in the stadium, in the room. Hey, I know Snoop Dogg. I know he's gonna be a part of Olympics on some level. So I'm gonna hit up Snoop. Be like, hey man, can you help a brother out?
There you are. There you go. Green Street Hooligans.
I see it. I like it. I like it. Got the little salt and pepper in the beard too.
There you go. You gotta have a little bit of salt and pepper. Like I love Salt and Pepper. As the hip hop group.
Yeah, awesome group.
Yeah, what a man, what a man, what a man, what a mighty good man. Anyways, I was for you, my friend. I'm not a singer, but that was for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Anyways, we love you. Amen.
Thank you.
And you, to me, you're one of my favorites as far as interviewers. I've interviewed thousands of people over the years, but I think you're just down to earth. You're straightforward. You shoot from the hip, and I love that about you. And to me, it defines who you are as a player, as a teammate, and as a person. So thank you for joining us. We'll be in touch, my friend.
We will. I'll be back on. And like I said, I love the day I found out 𝐽𝐵𝐿 was from Nebraska. I'm like, oh, he's another dude that people don't think that exists.
Hold on.
I told people that.
Hold on.
They're like, you from Omaha? I'm like, yeah. They're like, one. It's like, oh, do I have to go? I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, well, so just so you know, Nithin, who got you on the show, he's great. So we have a soundboard of Nithin, of just some of his great takes. You ready to hear some of them? I think you're gonna like them.
Yeah.
Right? Here you go. Here we go.
Breaking news. I gotta go back off now. Breaking news. Do you want to jerk me off? Breaking news. I'm putting you on a leash now. Breaking news. Smell my ass.
Oh my God. Y'all must like each other. y'all love each other.
Oh, we got
What's up,
Jabba too.
Nathan?
We got Jabba too.
I can't imagine. Hey, and I was a baseball player too. I got drafted. I was getting scouted by the KC Royals when I was in a sophomore in high school. Played outfield, so that is amazing.
Oh,
I won't be able to get that picture out of my head once I see Nathan at every Super Bowl radio row.
Dude, every time Nathan goes out in public, he wears this blue blazer. I call him the blue blazer man.
Yeah, he does. Yep.
And I tell him all the time, just have all these athletes sign and sign the jacket, and then just frame it as something. After a while, I mean, do you wash it? Does it actually get washed?
I would hope so, but there's a potential that it doesn't.
Listen, man. He has got the weirdest as far as style I've ever seen. He wears a red polo with camouflage pants with a blue blazer. I mean, this guy, he needs some help. I need to help him. I need to take him out.
This makes my pecker.
As we all, there he is. He's hanging out. There he is.
Shador.
There he is. Him and Shador having some of that nice soup. Anyways, we love you, man. Let's stay in touch. And let's get some esports work in here. Maybe I'll play you some Madden. How about that?
That sounds good. We got to do that. I'm down for that.
Maybe I'll play you in Madden. And we'll hook each other up on that. How about that?
That sounds good. That sounds good. I know you're not a Giants fan. You're a Jets guy, but the one dude over there, that's a dude, 𝐃𝐨𝐽𝐵. He's a Madden player and he streams on Twitch.
There you go.
𝐃𝐨𝐵44 is his Twitch channel. Might want to check him out. He is pure entertainment.
Oh yeah, look at that! And you got 3 Giant fans. You got Poops over here, Tommy Poops. You got the Speedster, and then we have Mr. Aaron Fishman, our executive producer, posting up all those nice graphics that you.
Oh, that's so fantastic! He did a fantastic job with the graphics.
Nice little applause. Oh, there I am.
They got the salt and pepper.
There you are. I mean, I should be the front man.
Hilarious.
There it is. I look sexy. Salt doesn't have anything on me. Pepper, I love you, baby. Anyways, thank you, Amen.
We love
you. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Sounds good, everyone. Have a good night.
There it is.
All right, Nathan. See it.
The one.
See you later.
Mr. Green. Mr. Green. Paper chaser. We love him. Amen Green. And for all the Green Bay Packer fans, it like rolls off the tongue. Rolls off the tongue. Aman. Come on, Speedy. Aman. Come on. Come on, Poops.
I think I'm gonna withhold for now.
He tastes himself.
Anyways, I tried. I'm just trying to flow with with Aman. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we call this Alrighty Then.
Alrighty then.
Alrighty then. As I am loading the graphic, we are going to get into the new segment we do with Errol's literary work that you can on www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Here's the graphic. The topic of the article we're going to discuss today. I will read some of the article. Speedy will then read some comments that Redditors, and if you are interested in getting your comments read, please go to Reddit and join the conversation. Woody Johnson is the topic of the day. I'm going to share the screen of the website. And again, worldwidesportsradio.com. Everyone's checking out the website. It's one of the hottest websites out there.
It is.
Right
Over
now.
115,000 views so far for the month. So we're going to break 200,000 for the first time. So for all the fans out there, thank you for reading the stories and checking out our posts. Go ahead.
That's pretty great. That would make us over 200,000 in both downloads and in website views each month. So crushing it, guys. Keep telling everybody about it. If they like good entertainment, come check out the website. Come check out the show. Woody, call the plays Johnson strikes again. How to pay $12 million and still micromanage like it's fantasy football. There he is, Mr. Woody Johnson. Jet fans, gather round. Bring your coffee, your rage, and maybe a helmet, because this ride's about to get chaotic. So let's break this down in plain English with Errol Marks Energy. Aaron Glenn is hired as head coach. He's ready to build his staff. He's about to bring in Don Martindale, a.k.a. Wink, a.k.a. Blitz from the parking lot, for a second meeting. And in the NFL interview speak, that's basically, you're in the elevator, where's your office? Then, boom! Enter Woody Johnson, cigar in mouth, clipboard in hand, like he's the defensive coordinator and the boss of the cheerleaders. Hey, Aaron, I'm paying you $12 million, so I expect you to call the plays. Wait, what? You pay a coach $12 million to hire his guys, and then you turn around and micromanage him like you're choosing toppings at a pizza bar? That's not leadership. That's fantasy football energy. Speedy.
All right, we're going to start with this one. Just a more generic one. This is Dan Stevens, 6515. Aaron Glenn proved this year he had no clue what he was doing.
Thank you, Dan, for giving us your own opinion. I agree that he was up and down all season long. But think about this, Dan. They had a chance to win 8 games this year. They choked against the Broncos at the tail end of the game. They choked against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Actually choked against the Steelers in the first game of the season. That right there is 3 games they could have won, which would have made them 6. It would have gave him 6 wins. So yes, he didn't look like he had any clue. A lot of coaches in their first season. Did Dan Campbell actually know or even look like he had a clue in his first year with the Lions? He didn't. So I agree with you. He looked like he didn't have a clue. That doesn't mean you throw him out and give up on him. That's all I'm saying.
All right, the next one. This is 𝐿_Parrish. They should blame Aaron. He hasn't made a single decision that makes sense. He's gaslighted the fans to think we were dumb with his shitty attitude, including this offseason.
Thank you, 𝐿_Parrish, for giving us your take. And I agree with you. I don't like how he speaks to the media and how he speaks to the fan. And he doesn't want to give the media any information that's going on outside of the locker room. He doesn't want to give you any injury reports. So I agree with you. I think he needs to be more upfront with the fans and obviously the media. You're here in New York. You should be open to giving the answers. But I got to give Aaron Glenn a little bit more credit. Even though he looks like he doesn't give enough, at least he's not doing the things that other coaches have done, like Robert Saleh, airing out information to broadcasters and different personalities offset out of the locker room. And then how about Mike Pettin throwing players and the organization under the bus when he was with Rex Ryan? So at least Aaron Glenn isn't doing that. But I agree with you. He should be more upfront with the fans.
All right, let's go to one that actually features Robert Saleh. So he kind of agrees with you about Woody Johnson. This is Pierce SD, 8654. He's the only owner to ever get an F on an NFLPA report card, and that says all you need to know about the way Woody Johnson runs the team, but hence why Saleh and Bowles got another job elsewhere.
All right, so Pierce, thank you for giving us your take. Here's the thing. I could care less what any magazine or any report card is giving me as an owner. He spends money, does he not? He opens up his pockets, does he not? The only thing that I could take shots at Woody Johnson now this offseason is the fact that he would not bring in Wink Martindale because he would rather pay his coach $12 million. If you're going to complain about a couple of measly millions of dollars when you're the owner of the team, you're a multi-billionaire, there's a problem. But as far as him getting graded an F, I mean, there are a lot of other organizations and a lot of other owners that you can give Fs to, which they didn't. He gave him an F, fine. Is he a smart guy? He's an intelligent businessman, not very good football man. So I agree with you. I grade him an F too, but who cares what I think? Who cares what any of these magazines or anybody's writing and giving your take to? So who cares?
All right, this one. From what it's time, you'll know. There's some organizations where the primary goal is to win the Super Bowl every year. The Jets are not one of those teams on the ownership and front office level.
All right, so what is it? What is it again?
All right, so we got...
When is it time? What is it?
When it's time, you'll know.
Okay, when it's time, you know. Thank you for your take on that. And I agree. Maybe the Jets don't know as an organization what to do. And the Jets have made a lot of mistakes over the last couple of years with the coaches. Bambi, obviously, Todd Bowles, Eric Mangini, you name it, they've struck out on coaches. And they struck out on players. They struck out on getting rid of Sam Darnold for a 2nd and 4th, and he wins the Super Bowl with another team in Seattle because they should have just sat and really developed him. Jamal Adams came out on social media to attack the Jets with that. So you're not wrong about that, but There are other teams, going back to the primary source of all these other organizations that have completely bombed. One here in New York, the New York Giants. Have the Giants done the right thing for their organization over the last couple of years? Yes, they won in 2007. Yes, they won in 2011 and knocked off the undefeated Patriots. But look what they've done in the last couple of years when it came to coaches and GMs. They have struck out. And the one guy that they had in Tom Coughlin, they gave up on. So I agree. The Jets are an organization that completely falls flat on their face. But there are organizations all through the league that are not successful.
All right, last one. 𝐼𝐸12. Jet fans need to stop going to the game, stop buying merchandise, make them sell, do the right thing, and hopefully they'll sell the team to someone who will bring them back to respectability.
𝐼𝐸, thank you for your take. Here's what I'm going to say. Nobody's going to stop buying merchandise. Nobody's going to stop buying tickets because the Jets are going to find ways to give you a good deal. Now, we've seen this over and over and over again when teams are really, really bad. They're not going to sell out and all that other stuff. Here's the thing. We're in New York. The New York Knicks have been bad for 25, 30 years. They sell out Madison Square Garden. The Rangers have been up and down. They haven't won a championship since 1994. They still sell out games. The Islanders over the years, even at the UBS Arena, they sold out more games than the Brooklyn Nets because they had James Harden and Kyrie Irving trying to sell tickets out of the stadium because nobody gave a crap about the basketball team. What I'm saying is, here in New York, as long as there are teams here and as long as there are teams that are competently playing those games and not choking, and I mean choking, not showing up to the games, they're going to sell out as many tickets as they possibly can. And if they don't, they'll sell them on StubHub or something else. And by the way, everybody's going to buy merch because the Jet fans are the most dedicated fans I believe, in the NFL. It doesn't matter how bad the Jets have been over the years. They sell out games. They buy jerseys. Do you know that the Jets have the 10th most sellable jerseys in all of the NFL? Did you know that?
I could believe that. Yeah.
Their jerseys sell. They're in the top 10 in all of the league when it comes to merch. Why? The Jets stink. What it tells me is the fans are dedicated behind the players and behind the organization. So that's never going to happen. So I agree with you. Right? Why not show up to the games? That's not going to stop anybody buying tickets or even going to games and buying merch. So thank you to all the guys that gave us your takes. We really appreciate you. We'll be doing this every single week, and I'll give you my take to it. And I agree with all the Jet fans. The Jets are not a very smart organization, but how many great organizations are there in the NFL? 7? 8?
I was going to say, you mentioned in your article, there's a couple owners that are worse. I definitely agree with you on the Browns and the Panthers.
There are a lot of bad owners. I mean, Miami, you're going to tell me Miami has a great ownership over there? No. I mean, come on, guys. I understand that the Jets are not an organization you want to play for, but the Giants haven't won since 2011. The Giants have lost as many games as the New York Jets have in the last 10 to 12 years. Are you going to tell me that John Harbaugh made the right decision going to the New York Giants over any other team and any other organization? No, it was about money. It's always about money. That's all I'm going to say about that. And listen, if the Jets fire Aaron Glenn at the end of the season, which they probably might, they'll bring in John Gruden or somebody else that will take the reins of this organization and get more power. And it's all about power in professional sports and money. That's all that matters. If you get the money, you get the power. They don't care where the team is and where the organization is going to lead to. So that's all I'm going to say about that. That's it. And ladies and gentlemen, that is all I got for All Righty Then. All right. We got Call Your Shot.
I'm not an X's and O's guy, right? I'm not a tactician. I'm a motivator in the classic sense of the word. You know, Lombardi, Charles Lindbergh, that nun over in India, like those people.
Call your shot.
Alrighty then.
That went over like a fart in church.
I like that.
Well, alrighty then was the last segment. This one's Call Your Shot. This one is the one where we get to make some outlandish, probably really good money in Vegas, if you could get odds on it, type of predictions, but ones that we think are going to happen for reasons because we are just great sports fans and pay real close attention. We all got one tonight. Errol, what's the order?
I'm going to go Speedy, Fish, me. Here we go.
All right, so Fish, I'm going to bring up a team that you brought up and dial it up, and I'm going to bring up one of Reno Johnny's betting picks from last week. Unfortunately, by the way, we will not have Let's Parlay tonight. Neither Johnny nor Wes can make it tonight. But I'm going to bring up one of Johnny's winners from last week, and that was the Miami, Ohio, still undefeated. But I am going to call my shot to say not only do they not finish undefeated this year, they will lose at least once in the regular season. They will not even win their conference. There are two other really good teams, Akron, who's made the tournament a lot, and Kent State, who's made the tournament a few times too. I think one of them upsets them in the MACtion championship game, in addition to one of them beating them in the regular season as well. 2 losses heading into the tournament. No need to wear a Speedo.
Yeah, interesting one where they have the Speedos like to try to distract the other team. That I don't know. I'd probably be annoyed, and I guess it would distract me. Well, my call at your shot is for Speedy, your favorite team, and I kind of gave you some clues about this earlier today.
I'm curious what this was. Let's say.
I think the Mets are going to make a trade from somebody for the AL East for their infield arrow this year. And I kind of zeroed in on the target because I do not believe Jorge Polanco is a first baseman. I think it is absolutely ludicrous to think that at like 35 or like, I think he's only 32, but he's been hurt a lot.
Yeah, Simeon's 35.
Right. Simeon's 35 next to him. It just seems like they have a lot of guys that play second base, and they're going to try one at first. I think they need to get a guy who plays some first and can hit some DH for them too. His name's Yandy Diaz. Okay. Yandy Diaz is on an expiring contract for the Rays. It's not that expensive. I want to share the screen and show you his baseball savant numbers. And listen, baseball savant, Errol, you don't need to know too much. You just need to know red means good, blue means bad. So look at all the F in red on his baseball savant charts. When you have a 353 expected weighted on base, that means you are a damn good player. He's in the 80th percentile of kind of like power hitters. That's what that means in the league. A lot of doubles. Only 25 homers. But look, he has 3 seasons, last 3 years. His down year was 281 with a 755 OPS. That's better than anything the Mets could hope for from that position right now. And his good year, take a look at what he did in 2023. 330. He had 22 homers, 522 slugging, so that means he had something around 40 doubles. I think he did lead the league in doubles that year. This is a guy that the Mets are destined to give probably too good of a prospects for a rental, but is going to be on the team in Citi Field.
I like that. I like that one, Fish. I would hope that would be a good move over. I definitely like him more than Polanco. If you remember, too, that bad year 2 years ago, he was the one before they traded for Chisholm that I said the Yankees should have traded for at the time.
Yeah, he's a good player.
I like him.
All right, I've got 2 predictions. June 14th is going to be the biggest watched event in UFC history. So here's my prediction. This UFC card is going to be one of the biggest watched UFC and of all time in professional sports. Yes, I big that this card at the White House is going to be as big as the Super Bowl, as big and watched as the Super Bowl was this year when it comes to numbers. One of the top 5 of all time. I believe that's how many people are going to be watching this UFC White House event on June 14th. And you know who's going to be making it to this event as he's been training and doing it really quietly? Conor McGregor. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the return of Conor McGregor on this card is it's inevitable. How do you what would
inevitable?
Be inevitable. That's right. Inevitable. Because I believe, I don't know if it's Chandler, but I believe that his next fight, and might be his only fight to return, will be against Nate Diaz. The return of Conor McGregor won't be against Chandler. It will be against Nate Diaz, as both guys are training right now. Nobody knows why. I believe it's because of this UFC White House card, June 14th. Expect Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz 3 as they both return to the octagon.
Wow, a pick revolving around your least favorite MMA fighter.
I'm just predicting it, and I think it's going to happen. I think Conor McGregor will be back. I think he'll be on this card, and why not? Nobody wants to see him fight Chandler. Chandler never wins fights. But Nate Diaz, I believe Nate Diaz won both fights. I think he got robbed on the second fight. And why not have a trilogy to finish their careers off in the octagon in front of the White House, in front of Donald Trump and all the fans that are going to be watching it, it will be big for the UFC. It's going to be enormous. And I think it will be on that card. So that's my prediction. And a top 5 watched event in sports history. That's my prediction. That's how big it's going to be, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, no Let's Parlay, but we got 𝐾𝐿 and What's That Smell here on Jabba in the Mouth.
3, 2, 1. This is the Jabba and the Mouth Sports Minute.
All right, guys. Aaron Fishman back with your Sports Minute. Got a couple more stories, and then we'll go through the basketball scores tonight. When the 2026 MLB season begins in about 5 weeks, Yankees fans are going to have some changes in their broadcasts as the Yes Network has significantly pared down its roster of voices and personalities. Yankees will go with David Cohn, Paul O'Neill, and former manager Joe Girardi as analysts alongside longtime play-by-play announcer Michael Kay. Ryan Ruocco will work as Kay's fill-in when he is out and for other select dates. This removed longtime analyst and sometimes play-by-play announcer John Flaherty, who announced his departure earlier this offseason, along with analysts and former Yankees Todd Frazier and friend of the show Jeff Nelson. Justin Shackle will also be moved from a play-by-play fill-in role back to the studio role, along with Frazier, while Flaherty, who is often critical of the Yankees front office in recent seasons, and Nelson will not be on the broadcast in any capacity. In last year's unofficial announcer rankings done by Awful Announcing, the Yankees finished 23rd in broadcasts, while the crosstown rival Mets ranked 2nd. Some injury news out of Milan for the captain of Team Canada and the Pittsburgh Penguins, Sidney Crosby, who left Team Canada's quarterfinal win against the Czech Republic in the second period after getting hit along the boards by Radko Gudas and Martin Necas and doubling over in pain on the bench. After first fears that Crosby, who set the record for points in Team Canada Olympics history earlier this tournament, would be out for the semis and finals / bronze game, but reports into ESPN say Crosby is game to game and may still be available. We're not going to put anyone in harm's way, Team Canada Lightning head coach John Cooper told the media. But if he can play, he's definitely going to. We'll know more again in 24 hours. Since Crosby has not been ruled out, the team has not had to announce a fill-in captain as of yet. But one candidate for that role, Drew Doughty, spoke about the potential loss of Sid the Kid from the Canadian squad. It's almost impossible to fill the player void, but we'll do our best. Guys got to step up. Canada will face Finland in the semifinals, while the U.S. and Slovakia square off on Friday before Sunday's gold medal game. In basketball right now, we have a few games. The Knicks are again getting toasted by the Pistons. They're down 18 with 9:31 left in the fourth quarter. It's 97-81 in the Garden. 7:24 left in the third. It's 68-59 Raptors over the Bulls. At the half, 61-49 Spurs over the Suns. Still to come tonight, Celtics, Warriors, Magic, Kings, Nuggets, and Clippers. And earlier finals, the Rockets beat the Hornets 105-101. The Cavaliers all over the Nets 112-84. The Hawks beat the Sixers 117-107. And the Wizards beat the Pacers 112-105. Guys, we are streaming live on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube on our Jabba in the Mouth handle, on Facebook under the Worldwide Sports Radio Network handle, and on Twitter under our host handle @ErrolMarks34. Keep downloading on Apple Podcasts and watch us both there and on Spotify, now in video. Make sure you like and subscribe all our shorts, reels, TikToks, and longer videos you see from us throughout the week. Now back to Errol and Speedy for our next segment on Jabba and the Mouth.
Any questions? What is this? We're back. This is the Jabba and the Mouth Show.
I'm not licking anyone. No. Good for you. Gross. It's her life.
631-672-3108. A little biggie. Oh. I am the king of wishful thinking. You're listening to Jabba and the Mouth. My name is Errol Marks. Jabba Chamberlain will not be on the show tonight. He is right now in Kansas City traveling, making sure that his son is out there watching video with his son and helping him out. So shout out to Jabba Chamberlain. We will see him soon. Thank you to all the fans tuning in and listening to our show. Thank you to Amon Green for joining us. He was fantastic, as always. Tommy Poops on the board. Nathan, a.k.a. the birth child himself. Mr. Blue Wire, blue, green, blue or purple, shiny yellow, and underwear not watching or seeking. Mr. Nathan outside the blue bleacher, whatever the hell we call them, the blue, green, whatever. Anyways, go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including Jabba and the Mouth, every single Mondays and Thursdays at 6:45 a.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. It's been a great one, as always, and we got 2 more segments as we call this Tick, Tack, No.
Tick.
Morris, right in the butt.
What? Tack.
We get the prizes cheap because they're stolen.
No.
Yes, Tommy, we will have Nathan come in and play.
He said, I wanted to thank all of you guys for the opportunity.
I guess not. He's on the phone.
He's on the phone. Mr. Niff is not wearing his blue blazer.
He's in a very important meeting. We know that Niff is the only kind that he has.
He looks like he's in a jail cell with no pictures, no nothing. How does that guy live in a house that has nothing to look at? Nothing.
I mean, they say Dahmer lived like that.
Did he ever? I mean, I wouldn't want to go into his freezer and find like eyes and all these different things that he probably hides in his freezer box. I mean, he is an Indian descent, so who knows what he eats in his spare time. So,
all right.
Well, go ahead, Speedy. What we got?
You mentioned some Olympic hockey during your sports minute. We'll start with that. U.S.'s next opponent is Slovakia, who actually was the bronze medalist, blowing out Sweden in 2022, the last time before they allowed NHL players back in. However, that Slovakia team did have the #1 and #2 overall picks in the NHL draft this year, both being drafted into the Eastern Conference. You guys get multiple guesses. Name the 2 teams that had those players.
You said it
This
was
year,
conference?
2022 NHL draft, they had the 1st and 2nd overall pick. Which 2 teams drafted them? Slovakia.
From Slovakia.
Yep.
Jesus, I have no idea.
Did you say the conference or no?
The East, yep. 2 Eastern Conference.
I'm gonna guess.
Yep. What do you got?
The Blue Jackets.
Nope.
I get one more?
Yep, you got one more.
I'm gonna guess again.
All right, what do you got?
Ottawa?
Nope.
The Sharks.
Eastern Conference.
They're West.
Oh, I thought you said the. I didn't know you said that. All right. Then give me the Devils.
Devils is one. Yes, they were the #2 overall pick with Simone Nemec.
So who else sucked in the Eastern Conference? A few years ago. That sucked really bad.
Tommy, you want me to help you?
Yeah, you can take one of my picks. I was gonna guess. I'm just looking at the teams now. The Blue Jackets.
That was already.
Said that.
I said
You
the
already
Blue
said
Jackets.
that.
Never mind. So then, yeah, you can just go ahead and take my picks.
I'll say Sabres.
Nope.
The worst. So like that was the second pick. The first pick. Who was the Slovakian first overall pick a few years ago? Errol.
The Hurricanes.
Not the Hurricanes.
No.
Hurricanes were in the freaking finals.
Hurricanes always good, so they wouldn't be picking it.
No. Was this one of the really bad Canadians years?
Yes, it was.
Oh!
Which was funny because it was actually the year after they made the Phantom Cup in the 56-game season. They fell off badly the next year. Yeah, 𝐼𝐻𝐿 was the first overall pick, the winger.
Don't ask me how to pronounce that.
I think the Nith Man is ready to join us, by the way, y'all.
Oh, how wonderful.
We've been graced by his presence.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Thanks for everybody for letting me join you and hang out with you in my blue blazer.
And Fish, he was one of the players I think you mentioned got a contract in the offseason, Slafkovsky. He was 3 guys.
That's what it was.
You're not naming them.
I didn't realize he was picked up first.
He was the #1 pick. It was a question mark at the time. He was a bigger winger, but usually wingers, unless you're like freak athlete,
I don't know if I like it.
Fast, don't usually go that quickly.
I don't know if I like it.
Excellent point. All right, Speedy, what's next?
All right, so now we'll shift to some college basketball. I was talking about Miami of Ohio in my call your shot. So obviously they're one of the undefeated teams. The only other undefeated team from the state of Ohio was 1960 Ohio State, which actually one of their starting forwards ended up being a legendary college basketball coach. Who was this player?
No clue.
Who was this player turned great coach?
Oh man, what school you said? Speedy?
So this was 1960 Ohio State. One of their starting forwards became one of the best coaches in college basketball history.
Oh.
I
Forwards.
have no clue.
Power forward.
Forwards.
Ohio State?
Yep, he played for Ohio State in the 60-61 season. They lost to the championship game, so they didn't finish off the full undefeated season, but they were in the regular season.
I'm going to take a guess.
What do you got?
Pat Riley?
Nope.
Oh, man.
College. Oh, you could rescind that. College coaches.
Oh, college coach.
Legendary college coaches.
Wow.
You could get another against them.
Oh, man.
You're thinking of the famous Texas Western.
Yes.
Yeah.
College coach. College coach. Forward. 1960s. That's hard.
So 1960, that means the guy is probably dead, right? He's or like 80 something.
Oh, man.
So it's going to be like someone like old time. I'm going to say Bobby Knight.
It is Bobby Knight.
Wow.
Oh!
I was gonna say that. It was gonna be too easy. Good job, Fish. Good job, Fish.
I
Wow.
thought that maybe I heard that he was Ohio State. I watched that somewhere.
I was not gonna get that.
All right, we're gonna go down here to the corner. Speedy, don't let me sweep you right now.
All right, we're going to go back to Olympic hockey. So in that USA versus Canada gold medal game in 2010, name two of the three Stanley Cup champions that scored for Canada in that game.
In 2010?
Yep.
In 2010?
Yep.
I'll go Jonathan Toews.
That is one. Yep.
Oh, I'm gonna sweep. Oh, I'm gonna do it all by myself. This is what a perfect game. Oh my god. I mean, it feels like it's too obvious, so I don't want to say it.
Say it.
He's the all-time leading point, Sidney Crosby.
Yep. That was the easier one. I didn't know if you would get the other.
Give me some award. Give me some bells and whistles for that one. Look at that. This is a perfect game.
As long as she's using dude wipes and taking care of my two-hole, I'm
These
good.
are tic-tac-no. Perfecto. Oh
Wow.
my goodness.
I'll give you one of
news.
these,
I
Fish.
need
I'll give you one of
breaking
these.
Breaking news. I gotta go back off now. Breaking news. Butt plug.
You can't get amongst all this.
Suck my Indo. I love Lisa Ann.
Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that was Tim.
Wow.
No.
Great job, Fish.
Now we have
Doo-doo.
what's that?
Yeah.
smell?
Ass liquor.
Hold up. What is that smell? What's that smell?
Wow, you don't see that every day.
My rear end is burning.
Wow. Wow. That's all I can say.
Cooch gets no cooch.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the final segment of the night, and it's pretty simple. We're going to tell you a story, and we're going to tell you what it smells like. It could be any story in sports, or it could be something else, whatever floats your boat, and whatever makes you hard, as somebody gets hard every single night when he does this.
Do you want to jerk me off?
Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go. Nathan, are you doing this? Are you a part of this?
I don't have anything.
All right, so you just sit and listen. Here we go.
I gotta go back off now.
Anyways, he's going to probably do that after in his jail cell. Anyways, I'll go with Fish, Tommy, Speedy, me. Here we go.
Smell my ass.
Okay, let's get it going on What's That Smell? The one I've got for you boys tonight is the smell of oil money. Yes, the Dallas oil money that has been spent $1 million worth for the debuted rookie jersey of Cooper Flag recently at Sotheby's private auction. million for the jersey he wore the first game of the season this year. Put up 10 points and 10 rebounds on October 22nd. Flag obviously is having a pretty great rookie season. Maybe not world-beating, but a pretty great rookie season. But it appears that the collector's market, especially in the Dallas area, is all over the future prospects of one Cooper Flag. That $1 million investment might be just that over some time as he goes forward. So what does it smell like? I looked up what crude oil smells like. It smells like a complex, pungent mixture of gasoline, kerosene, diesel, and sulfur, which is rotten egg smell. That's, I guess, what equates to the smell of money in Dallas.
I have no sack.
All right. Well, that's interesting. For my What's That Smell, I'm going to actually not even take the route of sports for the first time. What's That Smell? I'm taking the non-route of sports, and we're actually going to go into the realm of movie business. People who have been living under a rock and don't know who Academy Award winner Nicolas Cage, who that is, then you guys are living under a rock, like I said. But
Cooch.
Basically, Nicolas Cage, for those who don't know, I was about to say lives under a rock. Voices, what's it called? Basically voices a Spider-Man in the animated series known as Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. For those who aren't familiar with that, it's pretty popular animated series. Basically, on top of that, in the show, Nicolas Cage, like I said, voices the sort of Spider Noir vigilante Spider-Man in the show. Well, I don't know who decided it was a good idea, but we now have Nicolas Cage coming to Amazon Prime Video with his own Spider Noir film. I don't know if it's going to be a film, a show yet. It doesn't look all that great, everybody. I got to be completely honest with you. And considering that he has this movie with Amazon Prime coming out, with him portraying John Madden, I don't really understand who wants to see Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man in the year 2026. It's just that probably as good of going out and seeing someone like Pete Carroll getting the job of the Raiders coach. So what does that smell like? Well, in honor of the Madden movie I just mentioned, it's going to smell like the most rancid and rotten turducken that you can imagine being shoved up the one and only Lisa Ann. So there we go. Oh,
Dildo. Can I touch it?
Oh, hey, look,
I love Lisa Ann.
Nicolas Cage. That's great, Fish.
All right, Nathan. So if you ever want to get a shot at Lisa Ann, maybe you have to be a animated Spider-Man actor.
My pinky is bigger than yours.
It probably is, but I'll stay with college basketball for mine. This is kind of a dual, what's that smell? Two different storylines, both centering around the same person. An interesting week for UCLA head coach Mick Cronin. So on Monday, he comes out. So Houston head coach Kelvin Sampson was taking shots at their basketball program for not doing enough with NIL deals. Mick Cronin responds by Venmoing him $1 and saying, here's some little charity to help you out with the funding of that. So that was Monday. And then on Tuesday, against Michigan State, when they were getting blown out badly, their center, Stephen Jamerson II, did a flagrant foul. And before the referees could even address that action, whether it was a flagrant 1 or a flagrant 2, he ejects him from the game, doesn't even just bench him, doesn't even do anything, just discipline him, just throws him out of the game. Tom Izzo responds, I guess it's a flagrant 2. No need to consult from the referee. So a double duty for Mick Cronin of an eventful week for him, for the UCLA head coach. So what does that smell like? Well, Lonzo Ball was a UCLA alum, and he had a very dramatic father that thought he could beat Michael Jordan. So when he loses 777-0 in their hypothetical pickup game, it smells like LeVar Ball's jockstrap and tears.
Never going wrong.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, our final What's That Smell goes to the Olympics and Alyssa Liu, who wins the gold medal for skating. Women's gold medal, 20-year-old Olympic, now gold medal winner, California native. After 2 years removed and unretired, she wins the gold medal. And it's just an amazing story when you think about somebody that walked away from skating and then comes back and competes. She's a world champion and then competes in Olympics in Milan, who she was definitely going to be a medal contender, but wasn't expected to even win the gold. And to pull off this long skate and do what she did, it's an amazing, amazing story. So congratulations to 𝐿iSa for winning the gold medal for the women's skate, and sensational story. Retired, 20-year-old retired, stepped away from skating, didn't want to do it anymore, came back after an injury and just blew everybody away in the last 2 years in the World Championships and now the Olympics, and wins her first, maybe not last, gold medal. She's only 20 years old. Maybe she competes in 4 years. We'll see what happens, but great story. She just won herself a lot of money, let me tell you. Endorsements and all the great things that Olympic winners win over the years. Sponsorships. This girl has a smile on her face. And by the way, what is that thing between her teeth? I've been wondering, what is that? I guess it's an earring of some kind. I don't know, but I love everything about her. It's a great story. Congratulations to her. And congratulations to all the gold. Oh, by the way, congratulations to Team USA women's hockey for winning the gold medal against Team Canada in overtime. They were down 1-0 going to the third period, take it to overtime, and win the gold medal against Team Canada. So great story as well. Congratulations to Team USA hockey as well. Anyways, thank you to Amon Green, and thank you to Nith for landing another great guest. So thank you to him. Shout out to Jabba Chamberlain. We will obviously have Jabba in the very near future. I know Jabba is taking care of obviously his family and spending some time with his son. So congratulations to Carter on a great pitching outing over the week. So thank you to all the fans tuning in and listening to our show. Thank you to all the different guests that we've had over the last couple of weeks. We really appreciate all you guys for really standing behind us and our product. Today we were ranked 106th in the country on Apple and Spotify. So thank you to all the fans tuning in and listening to us and checking us out and tuning into all the different platforms we're on, including Apple and Spotify video and audio, on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, X, Jabba in the Mouth, Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network, and then obviously YouTube, Jabba in the Mouth. We have a new Jabba in the Mouth New York page. So Jabba in the Mouth, New York. So there you go. You can check out all our New York takes. If you haven't subscribed, check it out. It just got posted over the last 24 to 48 hours. And again, thank you to guys like Nathan for getting us our guests, Speedy, you guys, all of them, Fish with the back end stuff, Tommy Poops with the video and audio. There I am doing the salt and pepper.
You just made my nipples hard.
I don't know if I made his nipples hard, but it made my nipples hard looking at that sexy face doing whatever the hell I was doing. We'll be back on Monday. Who do we have on Monday?
All right, joining us, everyone. Thanks to Nathan for getting him at 8:30. Another former Seahawks, Cowboys, Ravens, and Colts former safety Ken Hamlin will be joining us.
Oh, taste himself.
I doubt he tastes himself.
Oh, somebody does.
This makes my pecker hard.
Well, there is somebody that probably gets his pecker rammed.
I gotta go back off now.
The only one we call Nith, the blue blazer himself, not wearing his blue blazer tonight in his jail cell, as we call it, condominium. Anyways, we love you. We love everybody. Tune in, check out the replays of our show, the audio, the video, YouTube, on Spotify and Apple. If you're not subscribed to us, shame on you. Subscribe to us. Tune in 103.9 this weekend, 7 p.m. You're going to have the Weekend Crunch. Great guests, great content, as always, on the FM dial. Until next week, this is Errol, Jabba, Speedy, all of us, Fish, Tommy Poops, the old Nith, saying good night. We'll talk to you then. Good night, everyone.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.